Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Reconnected. On the show, on a very momentous week for Scarecrow video, we have Mr. Joel Fisher back. Joel, thanks for coming back.
Good to be back. Glad to finally get another chance to talk with you.
It's been too long. I was looking at that earlier and getting some of the links that we used for the last show. I was like, wow, this was way longer ago than I remember.
Yeah, it seemed like you just have so many people wanting to come on now. It's hard to get booked back on, so I'm lucky to be here.
I had somebody asking today, and I literally had to tell them, well, how's your September?
Yeah, that's a good problem. That's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem. How's Seattle been, sir?
It's been all right. I don't know. It's warm today, so nice day for a change. I'm just working, so I don't pay attention to anything else that's going on.
Speaking of working, of course, we're going to get into Scarecrow in just a few. Josephine is here and wants to know, have you seen Romeo and Juliet, Lone Wolf McQuade, Ravenous Intruder, Happy Texas, or Mystery Train?
I've seen all of those, and they're good.
Yeah, this is a really good list.
Intruder, we're going to be talking about later, I think.
We sure are.
Rated one. Ravenous is great, deserves a better Blu-ray. Romeo and Juliet.
I agree. Yeah, Ravenous is probably my favorite in that whole group, but Intruder's really great. And Romeo and Juliet is underseen. I feel like a lot of people discard that because of the trauma association, but Romeo and Juliet is amazing.
Yeah, it's clearly a trauma film, but it's a perfect amalgam of that and the Shakespeare, so it's done really well.
Right. Obviously we got a lot about Scarecrow in the news this week, and Joel happened to bring a special guest, and I know she's eager to be here. So everybody say hello to Kate Barr, the executive director of Scarecrow. Thank you for coming on, Kate.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. This is amazing.
It is wonderful to see you again. Got to meet you last, God, was that December?
Yes.
It feels like 3 weeks ago.
I know, really. I know exactly how you feel. I can't believe this year is half over already.
Right.
I mean, happy summer, everyone. Because today is the solstice, right? Today's summer.
It's the longest day of the year, and it's a good thing because we got a lot of announcements to cover tonight.
Yeah. I see Joel's big stack over here of things, so I know you guys have a lot to talk about.
Well, we also got 1.8 million things to talk about. What is going on with Scarecrow Video? Because there's been a lot of articles shared this week.
There has, and in fact, just hot off the press, couple hours ago, AV Club put an article up about it. On Tuesday, we made an announcement that we kind of converted our spring fundraising campaign into an SOS, which is Save Our Scarecrow campaign. So we've sort of hit that crisis point where income has been on the decline and expenses on the rise, and we have not been able to fundraise enough to meet the gap in between. And so if we really want to get serious about a future, then we have to raise this huge amount of money. So it is a lot. It's more than we've ever tried to raise before.
Right.
But we have a purpose for it. It isn't like just throw money into a money pit. We do actually have a strategy for how that money would get used, which would be to bring in some new leadership. And by new leadership, we mean people who are trained and adept at fundraising. And so can really help in that area that we can't, because the reality is we're just a bunch of video store clerks that got together to start a nonprofit, and we've kind of taught ourselves a lot along the way, but we've kind of run out of road as to where that knowledge can take us. And now we need to bring in more experienced people who can actually take us to that next level. And so that is going to necessitate bringing in new people. So that's the new leadership. Being able to keep our existing staff. We're in danger of not being able to stay in our location. Our space, for those of you who've been there, you know how incredible and amazing it is. It's 8,500 square feet. in one of the most expensive cities in the United States. So, you know, it's a really magical, special place, and we would love to be able to stay there for as long as possible. It won't be forever. Like our landlord's already told us, it's not going to be forever, but it could be for a number of years more. And then the other really big piece of our fundraising component is we need to actually have working capital to be able to give this new leadership time to get up to speed and you know, really get their strategy in place and get it working. So we do feel like this would be an investment in the future, and our hope is there's some amazing angels out there who will agree with us and help us out.
Under all of the articles that have been posted this week, there's been a lot of, I guess, cynical comments is probably the best way to say this. Of maybe it's time to hang it up. And the most common thing I've seen is, sure, they're the largest video archive in the U.S., but why don't they just put all that? I think the most egregious one I saw was put all those in MP2 format, and then we can all share them. And I was just scratching my head. But first off, why should all of us care about Scarecrow in your opinion? And why is this money? Why is it something that we should all band together to really care about?
Yeah, it's interesting because I actually have somebody preview all the comments for me, because when we did the Kickstarter back in 2014, I mean, you know, the amount of disparaging remarks was just, you know, at a time when you really don't need to get kicked in the guts, and you're getting kicked in the guts. It wasn't a nice feeling. And so now one of our board members is kind of screening all of those, and I'm just like, just tell me the good ones. Because the reality is that not everybody is going to be a physical media advocate. Not everybody's going to be a physical media champion. That's fine. We all have different tastes. And so for those people who don't get it, they're never going to get it. There aren't words in English that are going to help them understand why we think this is special. And, you know, I mean, I'll expound on it, but I also know that you guys are already there, right? I mean, this is preaching to the choir, because you guys are already there and understanding why this is important. And usually, you know, the easiest way for me to help people get context is I usually ask, when I'm talking about Scarecrow, how many titles do you think Netflix has available online for streaming? The number is all over the map. I was in an interview today, and I asked the journalists that question, and they said 500,000 titles. I was like, wow, okay, yeah, You know, it's and the thing is that is actually what Netflix has done very, 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 very well, is sell the idea.
Right.
The idea, mind you, that everything is available.
Right.
Now, the reality is very different, because the reality is they have about 3,000 titles. And then if you put Amazon, Netflix, and Hulu together, it's like roughly 41,000 titles. Scarecrow currently is at over 148,000 titles, and we grow by, you know, like 3,000 to 4,000 titles per year. So the difference is in diversity of voices that are available. And one of the things in that AV Club article that I was a little bit disappointed about was, as I said, you know, we have everything. You know, we have the blockbusters, and we have the indie films, and we have the big budget and the little budget and the no budget. And he cut the no budget part out, and I was like, oh man, that's where the good stuff is.
I mean, the quantity of titles is such an important thing, but rent by mail is probably the thing that I've been talking about for Scarecrow the most this year, because it's the way that everybody that's listening to me can support the most. Yes. Can you explain the rent by mail program again for somebody that maybe not have heard Joel talk about it last time, and how they can become a part of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we realized is that for people beyond just the Puget Sound area to really get invested in this collection, they needed access to it. And honestly, access has always been a really fundamental part of our mission as a nonprofit, because if people don't have access to these stories, how can they how can they be have their mind open or be moved by it, or you have to have that experience. And so we realize access has always been extremely important to us. And so we have actually, since like 2018, 2019, we had been tinkering around with trying to figure out how to be able to do rental by mail. And it wasn't until we got our new point of sale system and the new website that it became what we hope is easier and more pleasurable for people than it was before. The before times was literally bubble gum and duct tape. So, I mean, this is, I think, for all the problems it may have, and there are still kinks we need to work out. It is infinitely better than what it had been before. And so there are certain things we won't send by mail. So VHS, for obvious reasons, if for any of you guys who went to video stores back in the day and you saw the warning ones with the melted VHS tape, that's why we don't send it by mail. Laser discs, hard to ship. And then our super rare stuff, the stuff that's on our rare list, we also,
right.
But even if you take all those out, you're still looking at over 125,000 titles to choose from.
Jeez.
I think people might be able to find something that they might want.
Right. Other than that, if somebody is dirt poor right now, they watch this just for fun and they would love to help out, what's the best way they can help Scarecrow?
Share it, spread the word, share it on your socials. We totally understand. Video was always a populist format. It was always meant to be an affordable format, which is also why we advocate for accessibility. And we try to do things like when we're locally, and I know we haven't arranged this for rental by mail at this stage, but locally people can come in on Wednesdays and it's our 2-for-1 day. And, we're trying our best to make these things as affordable as possible while also being caretakers of a pretty incredible collection that, we have a very strong responsibility. And Joel is our main guy with that. He's the one who's making sure that all of these titles are being taken care of. And if they get damaged, that we're replacing them, and, that we're keeping this collection as strong and as vibrant as possible. So just spreading the word, honestly. I mean, if you love physical media, then let other folks know how much you love physical media and that here is this place. And if you know somebody who might be able to donate $5, $10, it all matters. It all really matters. It matters not just in the dollar amount, but it matters in the love that's coming our way. And, instead of getting kicked in the guts, you get that warm and fuzzy feeling that, this is worth all of the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into it.
One other way that everybody can help Scarecrow is like we just found out, they have more than 140,000 titles. There's always stuff that you're looking for. To put you on the spot, is there a grail title that you don't have in Scarecrow that you would love to get?
Oh, that's a Joel question because he's the one.
I hate that question.
Yeah.
Anything that we don't have is like we want, essentially.
Right.
We want to have as much of a diverse selection as possible because it all represents our shared culture. And I kind of look at it, everything in there as like a people's history of, the world as, people look at themselves through media. So there's like documentary, there's feature films, all of that tell you about how people were at a specific time. And it's a window into a different time that might give you a different perspective on things. It's even films that were made for nothing but entertainment value can really shine a light onto the time period and the context of what and how they were made. So it's just, we want to, add more pieces to that and fill any gaps of any kind of weird stuff that we don't have. There isn't like a specific thing that like, oh, we can't find it. Anything that we really want, we get, essentially, usually, budget permitting. There's probably just a lot of stuff out there that we're not sure that is amazing.
Well, and we're really lucky because as a nonprofit, we can accept donations, and I mean physical donations, and we get them all the time. on an almost daily basis now at this point. And we always, when they come in, we always, and by we, I mean Joel, always goes through and checks to see if there's anything we don't have in our collection. And inevitably, not in every single donation we get, but inevitably, we're finding things that, and that was kind of the cool thing about the heyday of the home video revolution, is that people were just, would just stumble across things and you'd buy them and you'd have them, and then, they disappear, but you don't know that. And, it was just, it all was very kind of compartmentalized. And then so stuff comes to us and we're like, oh my gosh, we didn't even know that this was a thing, and now we have it in our collection. And that actually happens. I mean, I know on Joel's shelf, in where we do all the sorting of these donations, I think we have like 5 or 6 50 count boxes that you still need to go through of things that we don't think are in our collection as yet.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
that's just one of the shelves.
That is just one of the shelves. Actually, he has a couple of those. So yeah, there are like hundreds of titles that we still need to try and integrate into our collection. Yeah, it's always growing. We're kind of like, we'll take whatever people want to give. So
we love also when filmmakers approach us,
yeah.
contact us. They just want to have their their film at Scarecrow, which is super awesome. And
Yeah.
anybody that wants to do that, we're always happy to to accept that and to put a spotlight on that and share a little picture of it on the shelf and be like, you made it.
Yeah.
You're in Scarecrow.
Yeah.
We got a local lore question for you. Brian wants to know: didn't the original owner once spend a month's budget on one title?
I don't think there was ever a budget.
Yeah. Well, so that was that problem number 1. There was no budget. Problem number 2, George was incredibly passionate and just would get, somebody would tell him about a super rare Laserdisc in Japan, and he would jet off to Japan on a buying spree. And then this is the part 2 of that equation, and then not pay his staff for like a month. So, there are some people who don't, ex-employees from that time who aren't as warm and fuzzy, don't have as many warm and fuzzy feelings about George as,
Right.
Because they remember those days when they couldn't pay their rent because George couldn't pay them, because he had just come back from Japan with, like some amazing Laserdiscs that we actually still have in our collection. Somebody actually just called yesterday asking if we had Song of the South. And we do. We have a Japanese Laserdisc of it, and that he probably bought on one of those excursions. And
Nice.
and then we also have a PAL-coated VHS of it. So these aren't like bootleg things. These were actual releases that Disney made, not in the U.S. because they didn't release it in the U.S., but had no problems with it in other countries.
We got a label. Craig from Deaf Crocodile says, I'm assuming our titles are among those, and if not, I'm happy to donate copies of all of them. So we'll talk to Joel.
We are definitely caught up currently on Deaf Crocodile, but going forward, we should talk, definitely.
Yeah. I am very happy to see we got some people donating. I will put this up on the screen above in the chat out there. scarecrowvideo.org/SOS. If you can open that in another tab while you're listening to these wonderful stories about George, and just give what you can. It is a really important time. Obviously, the donation is going. The goal's for the end of the year, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So if you just got paid 13 days ago and you can't do it now, it's not like this is the end of the drive tonight.
Correct.
You got plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So.
And if you're going to donate from now till the end of the month, if you use the code Scarecrow Night in the text box,
there's a little notes field.
You'll be entered to win a raffle. For anyone that's watched the Viva special, if you haven't watched the Viva special, that just came like last week, right?
A couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, watch the Viva special. That's where you get information about that. But we're going to tell you, just use Scarecrow Night. And you're able to win one of many bags.
Yeah, we put together 5 gift bags, and they're all different themes. So like we have a Criterion one and a Vinegar Syndrome one, and so we have some different themed bags, and they all have some discs in them and posters and goodies like that. So there'll be a drawing. I think in like a week or so. It'll go through the end of the month. So Scarecrow Night in the note field, and then they'll do a drawing live on our Viva Physical Media show.
Nice. Yeah, the Viva special was pretty great. Everybody needs to check that out. The link for the Viva channel is in the description below. Probably last question for Kate. Yep. Dude McMahon wants to know, how do you make sure everybody returns the rare stuff?
And how do we even know what our rare stuff is? It's on a list called our rental by approval list, which means all of those titles have a deposit that needs to be paid in order to be able to check it out. And they range anywhere from $150 to $1,500 in order to check it out. So the idea being that if somebody were to abscond with them, that we would at least be able to try and replace them. Right. The rarer it gets, the harder that would be. So, it's just, there's a lot of good faith going on with that. But yeah, I actually fielded a call today, and this guy was looking for only rare VHS stuff. And you have to warn people, like, look, this is going to end up being like $700 in deposits that you're going to have to put down. But, Yeah,
we just want to encourage people to be careful with them more than anything. A lot of the deposits are sort of arbitrary because we try to tie it to a replacement cost of some sort. Some things you just can't replace.
Yeah.
And so we want there to be access to those things, but we want people to take the responsibility seriously and to not damage them so other people can be allowed to access those things as well. But unfortunately, the number of things that are just, they're out of print and they're just gone is growing. Or maybe, it seems to be growing, every day. Every time I check, I can't find so many different things. There's no record of them even being around. So, that's frustrating, and it keeps me up at night, thinking about all the things that, somebody loses it, and I'm like, oh, we can't find another one of those now. Yeah. There's nothing to be done.
But, I think it's a delicate balance that we always have to strike, which is between access and protecting the collection. And so we do our best with it. But ultimately, if we don't have access, if we start sequestering things, then you go down a whole different path where it's only available. It's just, we don't want to open that door. We want to just have kind of an across the board policy. Also, we are working towards getting grants, which we have in the past, and digitizing. We're prioritizing rarer stuff that we have, and specifically like rarer VHS that we have, and digitizing that. The slippery slope with that is that we can really only prioritize things that are orphaned. So that's not everything. There are some things out there that are owned by bigger distributors, and we just can't touch them. So we just hope for the best. And again, it's a lot of honor system and hoping that people treat them well. It is interesting that this used to happen back in the day, and I've heard like half a dozen people in the last few weeks say this. Back in the day, people used to come to Seattle, get a hotel room, come to us, rent a player, and rent a stack of stuff, and just hole up in the hotel room for the weekend and watch stuff. And apparently, people are doing that again. So they don't have to rent the player; they're just bringing their player with them and staying at an Airbnb. Or it's at the Airbnb, and then they're just walking out. They're like, I'm just going to get these for the weekend, and that's it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's great. So
sounds like a wonderful vacation.
There you go. I'm just, I thought I'd pitch that vacation idea to all of you guys. All right, I know you have a lot of titles to talk about. So Ryan, thank you so much for having me on. Really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate all of your support, and we can't wait to get the new edition of the Physical Media Advocate.
This thing? Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit.
Can't wait to have it. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kate. All right, Joel, let's talk about
Yeah.
some recent pickups, my friend. What have you got in recently you want to talk about?
All right. Just got in a couple from Eureka. A couple
Nice.
Kung Fu ones. You got Miracle Fighters.
Nice.
And one I haven't seen, the Valiant ones.
Yeah, that one looks super interesting.
I'm excited for that. King Hu, all the King Hu movies I've seen are excellent, amazing. So, I just figured I'll take a chance on that one. Masters of Cinema edition, stacked with good extra stuff. I'm sure it's going to look gorgeous. Pretty excited. And I also got some stuff from Kino. So I got The Pursued.
Nice.
It's a really nice
Mitchum.
like noirish Western. Never picked up the olive version, so good to have this one. Picked up the Republic Horror Collection.
Ooh, yeah, that one looked good.
I haven't actually seen any of those, but it's like 40s, 50s horror, so
Yeah,
it's gonna be. This is right in my wheelhouse. It's gonna be a good time, I'm sure. And then this one, I'm glad to finally have. Got Brain Donors.
nice.
I don't know. Maybe I saw it at the right age, but I just love this stupid movie. It's so much fun. You got John Turturro doing Groucho Marx, and it's just completely insane. So one of those that I never figured would come out on Blu-ray, so it's really exciting.
Right.
That I got it. So yeah, that's it. That's it for this time.
I've got Brain Donors stuck with the pre-order, and I'm dying to rewatch that one.
Yeah.
I had kind of a lot come in this week, but I just picked a handful to talk about. For for Father's Day, my wife had my kid look at my Amazon wish list, and of course he chose Scooby-Doo Zombie Island from Warner Archive that just came out. My subscription from Oscilloscope came in with this new Piaf Blu-ray, and then Vinegar Syndrome, their post-sale order came in, and wanted to highlight the Criminally Insane and Satan's Black Wedding double feature that they did. That I happen to be in the credits of that one. People should check that one out.
Nice. Those are excellent. I mean, if you like really, really bargain basement fun trash, you can't go wrong with that double feature. The movies are like an hour and change, so
yep.
It's not like it's going to take too much of your time up.
Not at all. And there's tons of nudity, tons of fake blood. It's super worth it. And then Imprint sent these along. Catacombs, really nice cover art on this one this time. And then the Roger Moore, The Man Who Haunted Himself.
That's a good one, yeah.
This is one I've been eager to see, but man, this was my most wanted for this month. The double feature of the Uninvited and the Unseen box set. And this has, there's a visual essay by Kat Ellinger on the Uninvited in here. And then there's a visual essay by Imogen Sarah Smith and Max Every on the Unseen. Really great looking release on these two. Yeah, brand new special features.
Absolutely gorgeous. It's astoundingly beautiful art.
Really well done. I will talk about this in a while, so don't worry about that. We will highlight that. Recent watches. What have you been checking out?
Been pretty busy, so I haven't watched a ton. Another thing that came in was the Severin Bruceploitation set. So I did watch Enter the Clones of Bruce, which was a really good time. It's a well-made documentary. It was cool that they actually got to talk to all the Bruces and get their different perspectives on playing Bruce Lee and their career and everything. That was because they're all so different and entertaining. There's some really cool special features, deleted stuff. There's a segment where they were talking to people about working at Shaw Brothers Studios. Super interesting. So that was a good time. I watched the recent Kino release of the Gene Wilder, Remembering Gene Wilder documentary. It's good. If you learn about Gene Wilder, it's nothing mind blowing, but I like Gene Wilder, and it's interesting to talk to people. Hear people talking about his career and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of it, I think, for. I've just been.
Anybody has been wanting to see that Gene Wilder doc? I think that's on Netflix right now too. And usually titles like that don't stay up there for a long time, so you may want to check that out. My big three that I watched this week, wanted to highlight the Criterion Thelma and Louise. Looks amazing on 4K. My wife had never seen this and loved it. Somehow she had never been spoiled of the ending, so just watching her go like,
Wow.
"What are they doing?"
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
great.
yeah, it was fantastic. And then my family watch movie this last week was the Studio Canal 4K of Peeping Tom. None of my family other than me had seen this, and everybody seemed to like it. I even caught my mom recommending it to my grandma. She's like, "Yeah, there's no cussing, there's hardly any blood. I think you'd like it."
Yeah, that's true.
Then the last one, since Craig was here, really want to highlight. It's been a while since I watched this. I rewatched Visitors from the Arcana Galaxy. This is a film that Deaf Crocodile had for a Kickstarter, I believe, last year. And this movie and this whole disc is kind of incredible. It's such a good time. It's such a weird, random story. The sci-fi aspects are perfect for it. It's just a lot of fun. Check out the film. It's so good. I think you will enjoy it. What other than the fundraiser, anything big coming up at Scarecrow soon?
What's coming up soon?
You got some summer watches outside, I think, right?
Well, we have some. Yeah, we have. Kate knows more about this because she is dealing with it. But every summer we've been doing these like public screenings. I don't know what they're showing exactly, but I think if you go to scarecrowvideo.org, the information will be there when the time comes. But they're free public screenings, and yeah, sorry I don't have that much information on that.
You're good.
I don't know if they finished the posters and released the titles yet, so. It's coming up, though.
Yeah, it's about that time. Weather's getting better, and lots of people are going to be able to check those out with you. I think that's it on my end. Anything else you wanted to cover before we got to some announcements?
We should probably get into them. We got quite a few to cover.
We got quite a few, but also after the announcements tonight, since I didn't post it because we hadn't decided what we were covering yet, keep in mind, after the announcements tonight, we're going to be covering 5 of our favorite releases from Code Red, which we have not talked about Code Red a whole lot on here, and I feel like I got a good solid 5. Can't wait to discuss.
I've got more than 5, but we'll see what yours are.
I probably got some of the big ones that you would have. Let's go into some announcements. First off, the amazingly crazy day for Kino Lorber, August 20th. They are releasing 5 Kino cult titles that day. We're going to cover a couple of them tonight. We covered a few last week. The first one is Squirm from 1976. This has been out of print for some time. This is finally back in print. It's got a new audio commentary with Lee Gambin and John Harrison. And this is going to be in a lot of people's hands because, man, people have been after this since that Scream Factory was gone. What do you think of Squirm, Joel?
It's a good time. It's the best Killer Worm movie. That artwork is great, so that should just sell you on it right away.
It should.
It's just fun. It's a good time. It's not the best Jeff Lieberman movie, but he's got some real heavy hitters in there. So
he's got a good catalog. Next one up, Sandpiper announced quite a few titles. They've been silent for some time. September 3rd, they're releasing 7 titles. We got Moby Dick from 1956, Blame It on Rio from 1984, Lord of Illusions from 95, and then Saving Grace from 86. I'm just glad people will be able to see Lord of Illusions again. That's a fun movie. Any of those 4 that you like?
Lord of Illusions is all right. That's the only one I've seen. It's not my favorite Barker, but I'm glad that it's going to be, like all of these, available again. Saving Grace is first time on Blu-ray, so that's nice.
Yep.
But the other, especially the Moby Dick, that's that Twilight Time is really, really pricey, and it's good that they're going to be including the actual correct original color timing in that.
Yeah.
I think they're actually doing both, but I don't know what Sandpiper's deal is. They just randomly drop the reissues with a little bit of new to Blu-ray stuff sprinkled in. I wish they would clue us into what they're doing a little bit more. I think that it would get them a little bit more business, and it would get them, more word of mouth or anything. I mean, do they even announce it? Usually I just see it, someone posts somewhere like, hey, these showed up on Amazon. So
yeah, it was a press release through Blu-ray.com. That was it.
It's so mysterious. It's almost like intentionally mysterious for some reason.
Everything that I don't know if you heard me talk about this before. Everything that we've been able to find was that this appears to be the old Olive Films, just reimagined as a new company. They've got the same font used on the back of their cases. They are from the same area of the country. Everything feels the same. So I'm not sure.
I've heard that theory, but it just doesn't make sense why they would not even have a website or anything at all. They have no presence whatsoever.
Makes no sense. They also announced 3 more. We got The Hound of the Baskervilles from 59, Lady in White, which is a masterpiece from 88, and then Marat Sade from 1967. I have only seen, I don't think I've seen that Hound of the Baskervilles. I've seen the other one, but yeah, Lady in White is my big one.
Yeah, the Hound of the Baskervilles, that one is great. That's the Hammer one. That's excellent. Yep. Cushing and Lee, you can't go wrong. Lady in White, do we have the specs on that? Do we know which it's going to be this theatrical cut or whatever? Because the Shadow one had like 3 cuts on it, and now if that's just going to have the standard MGM cut, that's kind of disappointing.
Supposedly, the director didn't even know it was being released, so he doesn't know anything about it either, and it's not up for pre-order on Amazon yet, so we have no specs.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out when it gets released. Somebody decides to take the plunge.
That's Sandpiper for you. Next title, A League of Their Own, is getting a standalone 4K. This was originally in the old Columbia Classics box set. The 4K on this looks great. This is coming out on September 3rd. Has a nice looking slipcover. I'm sure you've seen this many times. How do you feel about this one?
It's entertaining. It's just a well-made entertainment, like kind of a light, fun movie. Yeah. I'm glad they released it as a standalone, but I don't really know how they're just determining which ones to release and which ones will just linger in being unavailable. But
especially because there are many more, we'll say, more prestigious films that they have not released on their own. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm sure they have some internal numbers or logic to it, but it defies, anything to me. I don't, whatever they. I mean, they finally did the Taxi Driver, and you're like, okay, that one it makes sense. And this one is big too. I mean, I don't want to say that it's not a film that many people aren't fond of or love, but there's still a bunch of them that just put them all out at this point. Your box sets are sold out. It's been a while, so just get them back out there.
Especially that first one. That first one went out of print very quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Then we've got our first announcement from the Severin Summer Sale, which starts July 12th and runs through the 15th. No surprise, we knew this was coming. We are getting a 4K release of Opera from Argento, but this one has 5 discs on this. We've got a 4K disc with the director's cut and then the US cut. It also has a commentary with Christina Marcellic and Angel Sala, the head of programming at Sitges in Spain. We also got a commentary with Alan Jones and Kim Newman. And I know a lot of people were worried about the Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson commentary coming off of this one. But supposedly it's still here. They just forgot to list it. And it's easy to do that, I guess, when you have 5 discs of content to put out. Not only is those commentaries going to be on there, we've got interviews with Argento, with Franco Ferrini, with Christina Marcellic, trailers, Terror at the Opera trailer. We've got a bunch of other interviews, Q&A with Argento from 2006, a ton of brand new updated interviews. And then the big thing, Disc 5, the soundtrack CD, that's the first time that's been released since, I think, the old Anchor Bay DVD might have had a copy. But either way, this is going to be huge. I hope people are excited about this. The biggest get, of course, Christina Marcellic hasn't talked about opera in ever, basically. and she came out of retirement from acting. She was in a film that we're going to talk about just a little bit. I think she actually did her part by 2020, 2019, and then this is something that she was a part of as well. So this is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be the definitive edition. I mean, I can't imagine topping this. I haven't compared the specs to the Scorpion 3-disc to see if there's every single thing carried over. I know that some of the Swabbies didn't carry over here and there things, but I think it's going to be excellent. It's going to be expensive, but sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and get a really, really nice set for like $80 or whatever they're going to charge, and just say whatever. I enjoy it.
The running joke that I saw right now is Severin does free shipping at $80, so this will be $75.
Yes, you're probably correct on that. But I'm sure they'll do, if people are patient, a standard edition with less discs, since they seem to be doing that now. Wasn't a thing they used to do. Now we see a pattern. So, don't think that you have to commit to that. You'll still be able to likely get it. But if you love it, then, you get the best edition ever.
I love opera. I think it might be my favorite Argento, and I'm very happy to get this.
Yeah, it's going to look gorgeous, I'm sure, because that's a beautiful looking film. It'll be nice to, just blast the sound and watch the 4K of it. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's quite good. It'll be good to revisit it.
I obviously didn't watch it on disc, so it was compressed, but I will say I've seen the 4K restoration they did for this, and it's amazing. It looks by far the best it's ever looked for me.
Yeah. Well, I would hope so, because if you're going to go that big and then you're going to have a weak transfer, people are not going to be happy.
Right? Especially for something that's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
All right, going to the next one. Stress Positions from 2024 is getting a decal release that's a BDR on July 9th. This is coming out soon. Seems like a lot of people loved this year at Sundance. John Early is in this. Pretty good modern comedian. I've not seen this one, though.
I don't know anything about this one. I mean, it's good they're putting it out, BDR, but it's going to be out there. I just feel bad when someone releases a BDR of something, because it's going to affect their sales, and they're going to be like, nobody wants these movies. Like, well, nobody wants a cheap version of it. Right. They want an actual disc, because it's usually more expensive for the BDR. Anyway, I understand there's different elements. They probably don't want to make as many.
I mean, this likely it wouldn't sell 1,000 copies. I'm not going to argue with that. However, they don't go down in price either. When you're selling a BDR, they don't. It would make sense to sell this, especially if there's no extras, for like $12. But this is going to be probably $22 on release, and then maybe go down to $20. Maybe.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're doing it through Allied Vaughn, who does a ton of that mod stuff, because I think they do have some say in those pricing mechanics. So that might be why it seems like their BDRs are often more expensive than their mod press discs. So
right.
Who knows?
I get it. Next one. This is kind of a big one. August 20th, Sony's releasing the China Syndrome on Blu-ray from '79. This is with Jack Lemmon, Jane Fonda, and Michael Douglas. This had gotten a previous release, I believe, from Imprint, but this is the first time this has been on Blu in the U.S., if I remember right.
There's an indicator from the UK.
Oh, indicate. Okay.
Region free, and there hasn't been a US one, so this is a great movie. People might already have the indicator, because I'm sure it'll have a lot more extra stuff on there. But if you don't, it's probably a solid release, good transfer. I'm sure it's the same transfer that they used for the other one.
I imagine so, yeah. And Sony always does great with their transfers, so I would trust it. Kino announced the Court Martial of Billy Mitchell is coming soon. This is getting a 2023 HD master by Paramount from 4K scans. starring Gary Cooper, Rod Steiger. You got some other names that you might recognize here, like Peter Graves. But the big thing, directed by Otto Preminger. I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen this one.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one either. I've always looked at it, and it looks interesting because of the cast and the people involved in the making. But it's eluded me. So this is a perfect time to check it out.
I love. Is it a? Yeah, I love this comment. I understand the dude cheated at getting high scores in Donkey Kong, but a full court martial. Speaking of, when do we get the King of Kong on Blu-ray? Come on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Next announcement, another coming soon from Kino is Teacher's Pet with Clark Gable and Doris Day. This one is coming from some Paramount 6K scans of the OCN, which is super interesting. Yeah, 6K scans of the OCN.
I'm sure someone is very happy about this. I don't know anything about this movie, but it seems like a fun comedy.
Then August 6th, Grasshopper is releasing Pictures of Ghosts. This one sounds great. It is Brazil's official selection for the 2024 Oscars from an acclaimed director. It is a multi-dimensional journey through time, sound, architecture, and filmmaking set in the urban landscape of Recife, Brazilian coastal capital of Pernambuco, a historical and human territory examined through the great movie theaters that served as spaces of conviviality during the 20th century. This is supposed to be great. Looked up some reviews on this after the announcement, and sounds fantastic. I am really wishing that Grasshopper had more of an impact on people, because they do some great stuff.
Yeah, they're one of those labels that are just quietly putting out some really, really interesting stuff, and they look really good. But yeah, they're just sort of under the radar, which is a little bit unfortunate. Maybe it's because they put out a lot of foreign films that are not genre specific.
Yeah.
But, they should get some love too. I
agree.
There's a lot of great foreign stuff out there that just, maybe it plays festivals and then it just disappears because there's no one to, give it a home. And I don't know about streaming for any of that stuff. That's a whole nother weird area. So maybe some of it ends up on streaming, maybe not.
Right. It's tough. Next one up, Will Go announced Before Dawn from 2023 is coming on September 24th on Blu-ray. And this one's crazy that this was announced this week. This doesn't even hit theaters until July 19th.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that far.
I will say once again, we're in an era where every day somebody else is talking about physical media being dead, but also the theater experience being dead. If you want people to see it in the theater, why do we know that this is coming out in September when it's not even going to be in theaters until the middle of July?
Yeah, I don't really understand, because clearly the model, I don't know, every week they're like, oh, the theater is dead, and then Bad Boys does really good, and they're like, it's back again. But the issue is, I think that there's one model for everything, whereas some films might do better with a different model, and then you'd make more money, but they can't fathom not doing it the same way. Like, especially now with social media and stuff, you don't have to spend much money on advertising. Just have the film be around so people can actually go see it,
right,
in areas, and build word of mouth through social media. I mean, films used to stick around for months and months and build an audience. And that was before any of this kind of stuff where we can talk to each other in a million different ways. So it seems like that would be a lot easier to do now, but they just don't even try. It seems like they just want to get their cash, I think, and just move on to the next thing. But I think that's just they're sort of just shooting themselves in the foot on that.
And it's pretty obvious when you complain about it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
The next one, Simple Like Silver. This is the second title announced for the Severance sale. This is as far as we know so far, out of I think 3 or 4 titles announced, This is the first one that is a sale exclusive, so you're only going to be able to get it during the weekend of the sale. This is the worldwide Blu-ray premiere, and this film came out in 2022, and it stars Christina Marcellik, that was in Opera, and it was her first feature film appearance in 25 years. This is going to have an audio commentary with Damian Leahy, who is the director and writer. There's an audio commentary with Christina Marcellik on this. There's a trailer. There's an essay by Michelle Kisner. And this release is coming on Blu-ray. Before I say anything, did you get to see this one, Joel?
I have not seen this.
So I actually watched this last week because, a little bit of a spoiler, I interviewed Damian Leahy, the director for this, and we're going to be posting that in the next couple weeks. And this movie is rather interesting, especially if you like not necessarily slow cinema, but like experimental art house. There's no actual spoken dialogue. It's a narrated film, and it's very existential. It's really, really beautifully shot. It's done in very stark black and white, and all of it was shot on an iPhone X and does not look like it. It looks magnificent for being shot on an iPhone.
It sounds intriguing, and I got to give credit to Severin for always trying to make their lineup for their sales very diverse, mixing in some contemporary-ish stuff with some classic stuff, stuff they know is going to be fan favorites, with stuff like this that they're trying to be like, you should check this out. Someone buys the bundle, they get it. Maybe that's their favorite part of it because they're not expecting anything. So that's super cool that they're doing it. It's frustrating when something is a sale exclusive just because the window is so short on it. Maybe somebody found out about it the next week and then they're just screwed. They have to pay scalpers or whatever. Although with Severin, you might just be able to email them. Sometimes they're kind of doing it on the down low. But I'm looking forward to seeing this one.
I think a lot of people would like it, particularly if you are into like very modern art house. It's pretty good. The last thing I'll say about this, on top of the film being good, the essay with Michelle Kisner is excellent. She was on the channel a couple months ago, and her writing is impeccable. If you are into modern art house stuff, I would highly suggest checking this out. I think you'll like it. Oh man, do we have a lot to talk about with Criterion? Giant month for Criterion. So first, Repo Man coming in 4K, all the same extras as before, but this is obviously a monumental title for a lot of people. How do you feel about Repo Man, sir?
I mean, it's Repo Man. It's a classic. It's just great. It's one of those that if it was just on cable or something, I would always just watch the rest of the movie. I could probably watch this another 1,000 times and never get sick of it. It's just so good. It also would be nice to have it on 4K. And I wouldn't expect any new extras from Criterion. I know that's their deal.
Right. We're going to get into the month as a whole afterwards, but it's exciting for a multitude of reasons. On the next one that came out of nowhere, September 10th on 4K and Blu-ray, All of Us Strangers is coming to Criterion. This one has a 4K of the movie with Dolby Vision and a Blu-ray with special features on there. We had a new conversation with the director Andrew Haig and the author and critic Michael Koreski. New interview with the cinematographer Jamie Ramsey on this, a behind-the-scenes doc and featurettes trailer, plus an essay by Guy Lodge. How do you feel about the fact that we got a Disney movie in Criterion right now?
Yeah, this was a big surprise just because there was, the prevailing wisdom was like, there's probably not going to get a release in the U.S. But to come from Criterion is a nice surprise just because it gives hope to some more Disney stuff. But, we don't know the terms of this. It might be another deal where the director's just like, can we please put this out on Criterion? And they were like, okay. I don't know. If they have a deal, that would be good news for everyone.
That'd be great news. The fact that Disney owns so much is terrifying in many ways, but also it would be exciting if suddenly they're willing to start dealing with everyone else.
I have to say, it's a little frustrating when these companies will only deal with Criterion, because Criterion can only put out so much, and there is an enormous amount of stuff that they are sitting on. So, I'm good for Criterion for putting out the Netflix stuff and all the different ones, that they're basically the only ones that have access to it. But just like, come on, guys. There's plenty of other people that would maybe be interested in that kind of stuff.
Right. What was interesting is we just announced that All of Us Strangers was coming directly from Disney in the UK in, I think, July. So it was odd that there was something that wasn't going to be coming out in the US. So I'm glad that this is happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Film Illiterates is saying first WALL-E, now this. Are they slowly opening the door? That's kind of different because WALL-E was just a one-off with the director asking, or basically begging for Criterion to put it out. And now we don't know the story behind this yet. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully it's the beginning of a trend, but it remains to be seen at this point.
The exciting month continues with the Long Good Friday getting a 4K release and Blu-ray. This is coming on September 17th. This was DVD only before, and I do want to point out this is probably the best cover upgrade for a Criterion release in years. The DVD cover for this was garbage.
Yeah. That was a really old DVD, though. That was a really early Criterion. I don't even think it was anamorphic. So it's I always do enjoy when they can go back and reclaim something that they had lost the rights to and give it a nice new edition. It's best when it's a Laserdisc, but DVD is good too. I saw this pretty recently for the first time, like right before Arrow announced the 4K, and I was blown away. This movie is fantastic. If you haven't seen this movie, you've got to see this movie. It's so good. The performances are amazing in this. So I have the Arrow, so I probably won't need this one, but it's good that people are going to be able to revisit this film.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. If two companies are putting out the same 4K and one of them is Criterion, lately I would almost recommend the other company's release. Their encodes have been better than Criterion's recently, whether that's Studio Canal or Arrow. You're probably better off going with that other company, especially if you're region free for the bonus features disc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next up, though, 24th of September, 4K and Blu-ray release of Greg Araki's Teen Apocalypse trilogy. This surprised everybody. A lot of people did not see this coming. Of course, in here we have Totally Fucked Up from 93, The Doom Generation from 95, and Nowhere from 97. Now, of note, if you buy the 4K set, Totally Fucked Up is Blu-ray only because of how it was filmed. Makes perfect sense. But I will say, other than Totally Fucked Up, the entire month is 4K from Criterion, which is the first time that has ever happened. Yeah, that's a big deal.
They're going hard on that, which is nice. Yeah, I mean, if you have the stuff, and that and you feel confident in the audience, that people are going to respond to it. That's a good sign. Just for them, maybe they're doing all right with the 4K. Maybe they're selling good for their other stuff. So this is a big deal. I mean, this is a really cool. I mean, it would have been a bigger deal if Doom Generation hadn't already got the Strand release, but still a big deal. It's great that these are going to be getting out there. Nowhere has only been on tape, I think, other than import DVDs. So glad to have them. Glad that a new audience can see, because I watched these when they came out, and I was the right age for appreciating those kind of movies. It'll be interesting to revisit them, watching them on 4K too.
If you do have the Doom Generation Blue that Strand did, was that it was last year, right?
Pretty recently, yeah. I think it was last year, the end of last year.
So if you have that one, there is a commentary that did not make this set. So kind of a win-win if you have that one. There's still a reason to get this. This is going to have new conversation with Araki and Richard Linklater. We've got a new commentary on Nowhere with Araki and James Duvall, Rachel True, Nathan Bexton, Jordan Ladd, Sarah Lasses, Guillermo Diaz, and Jason Simmons. There's a commentary on Totally Fucked Up with Araki, Duvall, and Gilbert Luna. New doc on the trilogy's visual style. There's a new conversation with Araki and Duvall. Q&A with Araki, moderated by filmmakers Gus Van Sant and Andrew Ahn. There's a video comic book. And then there's an essay by the critic Nathan Lee. Basically, this is like one of their more stacked box sets in quite some time.
Yeah, and they seem to go all in on this, so that's really when we get to happiness. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Then happiness, like you just alluded to, September 24th, getting a 4K and Blu-ray release, making the massive leap from DVD to 4K. This is from 1998, and on this one, of course, like you just said, new conversation with Todd Solondz and Charlotte Wells, new interview with Dylan Baker, and an essay by Bruce Wagner. That is all we get on this one, but this is like one of the most sought-after titles on HD for decades.
Yeah, I'm happy to just have it coming out, but would it kill you for a commentary in there, just a little bit,
right?
Especially to contextualize a lot of the things within this movie. But Criterion is kind of erratic when it comes to that. I give them credit for just putting it out anyway, so that's great. And that DVD is terrible. It's not anamorphic. It just looks bad. I saw this in the theater when it came out. I didn't know anything about it, and it was a very awkward experience in a theater full of people. I think that's the point,
Yeah, this is one. I think it was. I feel like it was streaming on Netflix or Hulu for a very short period of time, like 6 or 7 years ago, and that was the very first time I ever watched it. And man, that was a depressing evening.
Yes, indeed.
New cover art based on the original poster by Daniel Cloud. I mean, yeah, it's slightly different, probably. Just a fun family film. Brian says, I saw this at a film festival, and boy, was that awkward.
Yeah.
Oh, happiness. All right, that next Kino Cult title I mentioned, we are getting Kingdom of the Spiders on August 20th as well. This is number 14 in their Kino Cult line, and the 5th of the 5 titles they're releasing on that day. This one has a new audio commentary with Lee Gambin on it as well. Rest in peace, my friend, and a whole bunch of extras carrying over from some of the previous releases. Some good art. I love this poster. I don't think this has been used before. It's beautiful.
Yeah, all of these re-releases have amazing art on the slip and it looks like they have reversible art. I mean, they went all out on that. So at least, even though these are re-releases, they are giving you extra stuff. And if you don't have it, definitely, all of the 5 are fun. This one is maybe the best one. This one is just awesome.
I do wish we would have been able to get updated, a conversation with Shatner at least, but I get it. He's pretty old at this point. Going to our next one. Yes, I will minimize that for a moment and highlight the 10th issue of the Physical Media Advocate. This is available on Amazon now, and here is some of our highlighted, let me show that the best way, highlighted articles in this one, and a lot of people that contributed to this are in the chat here. We've got Stan Geezy, who wrote on the Zapruder film, and also technically wrote on another little Corman piece for us. Joel got everybody at Scarecrow to write some of their Corman recommendations. We had a piece written by Adam Hersey on SFW on here. We've got, let's see, How to Get into Cat 3 in Hong Kong from Brian, who is the Wonderment Project in the chat. And I've not really shown a lot of this before, but this is our longest issue by far at 54 pages. And it is something I'm immensely proud of, that we got all of this into this one thing. Obviously, with Corman dying and Lee passing away in the same month, we wanted to give some sort of tribute to both of them, and they both got multiple pieces. It is a massive, massive issue, and I hope people check it out because I'm proud of it. And thank you to get Scarecrow.
Yeah, it looks, especially with the physical, they look so nice. Just holding it in your hand, the art, and it's really well done. All of them have been, and this is just, it's kind of amazing how much it's expanded. But everybody's doing a great job on it. So give yourself a pat on the back.
It's been 1 year to the month. I think it was June 15th last year that we released the first one, and that first one was 6 pages.
Wow.
Quite a bit different in 1 year. Then Imprint announced that as part of their Imprint Asia line, they are also releasing the Erotic Ghost Story trilogy. I think they only posted this to get ahead of the 88 Films announcement, but this will likely be a region-free release. Usually Imprint stuff is. I won't say always, but usually. And no idea on transfers for these, no idea on extras, but I'm sure we will hear about it soon. This is kind of a big deal that everybody's getting these out at the same time.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious who's going to put out the U.S. release now, because I feel like that's going to be trailing in third. That's cool. I mean, more of this Hong Kong stuff, the better, in my opinion. There's, I've seen people actually complain and be like, oh, we're getting so many of these Hong Kong releases. Like, do you know how many there are still not available? Right. There's thousands and thousands, and they're not all like, oh, they're just kung fu. Like, no, they run the gamut of all sorts of different stuff, and there's so much good stuff that has never either been available or been available in just the worst versions possible. So, I just say, just keep bringing it on.
If you want to read about many of that Cat 3 and Hong Kong films, check out this issue. It's the second portion of the out of print where Brian here in the chat is talking about a lot of the Hong Kong cinema in a way that's literally never been written about before. So if you are excited about Asian cinema, I think this issue specifically was made for you.
Yeah.
Next one. Oh,
Cat 3 especially is like, if people are not familiar with it at all, they go places where you didn't think people could possibly go in films. It's crazy. But It's kind of liberating and amazing to just see how nutty it is. And the tone, the whiplash of tonal shifts throughout the stuff is just kind of a joy. It's just a whole nother world. It is like to see, like the polar opposite of how people, tend to think about films. Like, they don't care. They will break any rule that you think exists, and they will have fun doing it.
All in the same film sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. So, the more that get out there, the better.
Our next one is the third title of the Severance sale. This is The Mummy and the Curse of the Jackals from 1969. This is the first time it's been on disc anywhere in the world. And then this also has a bonus sexploitation feature with it. This is, it says, experience the notorious 1969 horror epic that's been barely seen since its fly-by-night VHS release, while existing mostly via sordid rumors for more than 50 years. Anthony Isley from The Naked Kiss and Dracula vs. Frankenstein stars in this brain-melting mashup of dubious Egyptology, risible werewolf transformations, H.G. Lewis-level gore, cut-rate psychedelia, and an oven-mitted mummy on a Las Vegas rampage, all set to a swinging soundtrack of lounge and surf instrumentals. John Carradine is in this as well, and it was scanned in 4K from the original negative that was discovered at Ewing's Lucky Brown's Los Angeles estate sale, now with over 2 hours of special features that include the thought-lost Vega International adult feature called Angelica the Young Vixen, scanned from the only surviving print. This will have an interview with Stephen Thrower on here, talking about the Vega International story. Interview with C. Courtney Joyner. Interview with Gary Gassel, the son of investors Milton R. Gassel and Judy Gassel. You've got the 61-minute Angelica the Young Vixen, and then an audio commentary for Angelica the Young Vixen, which is the bonus feature by Joe Rubin from Vinegar Syndrome and exploitation film researcher Sean Langrick. There's a lot on here for some silly 50-year-old movie.
Yeah, I have seen the tape. I've seen this movie, and it is not good, but it is very entertaining in its just crazy ineptness, and I don't know. It's got heart to it, so that goes a long way with me. I don't know what's the deal with this cover. I kind of love this cover art, but it really has nothing to do with the movie.
Right.
But this might be kind of we'll have to wait and see what the rest of the Severance slate is. But this might be like the big deal of this, honestly. Like maybe for only someone like me, the fact that this is coming out on a Blu-ray and it's got such a nice edition for this, that just makes me happy. That makes me have faith in humanity.
I love it. Moving right along, we've got a big one. Prime Cut from 1972 is coming on 4K and Blu-ray from Kino on August 20th. This is going to be an expensive day for Kino. This one, we've got a new audio commentary by the Lee Marvin biographer Dwayne Epstein, new audio commentary by Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson as well. And then we got a standalone Blu-ray release if you want it, got the standalone 4K. Either way, you've got all your bases covered. Prime Cut, Joel.
Yeah, this is a good one. It's a little sleazy. It's a little uncomfortable, but it's also a good time. I still haven't even opened up my Kino Blu-ray that I bought, but I'll probably end up just getting this too because it's just good.
Yeah, this is the first Sissy Spacek film, I believe.
Yeah, she is uncomfortably young in this movie.
Very, very young.
Yeah.
Then Kino announced that August 13th, they are putting out 99 River Street as a reissue. This is going to be different because it's got the same transfer as before, but now it's encoded at a higher bit rate and on a dual layered 50 gig disc rather than the 25 gig disc they did before. This will also get English subs that it did not have before. And honestly, for me, that's a lot. I hate some of these like early 2010 Blu-rays that never got subtitles. And when they come out again with subs, it helps so much.
Yeah, I got to give Kino credit. I mean, they're doing all these re-releases, but at least they are adding to them. They're not just pressing the same disc again and just giving people the same thing. So that's nice. They're learning. They're like, oh, people want the subtitles. People want this and that, and then they actually respond. So I love that, and I'm glad this film is available again because it's great.
Another one they're doing that for is Navajo Joe with Burt Reynolds. This is also going to have, on top of the new subtitles and the higher gig bit rate on the bigger disc, this is also going to have a brand new audio commentary by Alex Cox, the author of 10,000 Ways to Die. And again, pretty cool that this is going to be out there for people to get again.
Yeah, this one I know was getting pretty rare, pretty expensive, and it's good. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's a really solid spaghetti western. So you gotta get some Burt in there too. Kino loves the Burt Reynolds, so
they absolutely do. Lots of Burt over the last year from them.
I think that's great because they've been putting a lot of weird ones. So like Heat is a really cool one that people might have missed. I think that it's unfortunate they couldn't do Seamus. That one's a great film, and but it's Sony, so who knows what happened with that.
It's a good point. Good point. Speaking of Sony, they're releasing as far as I'm aware, the first 4K release of a stand-up special. Richard Pryor live on the Sunset Strip is coming on 4K on September 10th. This is going to have a trailer on the disc, and that's it. But the first stand-up special on 4K. How do you feel about that?
I was confused. I mean, this is a great special. Richard Pryor's stand-up is awesome if you haven't seen it. But 4K, I don't know if it really matters that much. But, hey, that's fine if they're willing to take a chance on that. That's great.
It made me really get that feeling, like if they want to take a chance on that, it must be doing pretty well for them if they are putting out a stand-up special on 4K. They got to be seeing some sort of return on it.
It makes me kind of nostalgic for when they actually released stand-up special things into theaters. Like it was because that's a thing that is so alien to today. That is a thing that will never happen. But no, they actually used to do that with a lot of ones, like really, really big deal movies.
I feel like the last time I may remember that happening was Robin Williams live on Broadway. Mm-hmm. I can't remember many more since then.
No, yeah, it was kind of there was a lot in like the 80s, it seemed like, and then it just slowly died out. I mean, cable just kind of killed it off a lot because you can show up stuff on there easily, but it was kind of a cool event, and that stuff with an audience, it just plays better because people are, laughing at the jokes and playing off each other more than anything.
I also wonder if back then it was more so because touring was a lot more difficult, I'm sure. And so, there's a lot of people that would just simply never get the chance to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Then we got Mill Creek putting out another one of their Ultraman sets. They're doing Ultraman Taiga on July 30th. This is getting a Blu-ray release, and it is the complete series and Ultraman Taiga, the movie New Generation Climax. They've got these available for pre-order now. You and I have never talked about kaiju and stuff like this. How do you feel about Ultraman?
I don't know about this one specifically. I love, the original like Ultra 7 and all that old school stuff. There's so many series. I'm glad Mill Creek's putting them out because, none of that stuff's been available for Western audiences forever up until this point, and they're doing a pretty good job on them. But now it's like almost to the point where I'm like, it's kind of too much. I don't know if I can handle like going through them all. There's so many, but overall, I approve of kaiju.
I feel like if somebody just discovered Ultraman in 2024 and went, I want all of them, Mill Creek is going to be very intimidating, quite overwhelming.
It's weird to go from you have none except for really bad dubs and different stuff too. You have everything now. You have all of it. Like that, we live in a weird time like that. Because I remember when you couldn't get things, like even things that you think would be mainstream, you can't get. And then now we're getting crazy stuff like this, where it's a very, very specific audience, and you're getting all of it. And it's a lot. They've been releasing these for years, and there's still more stuff.
Yeah, I think their first Ultraman release was pre-pandemic, and then there was so many in Best Buy. They were selling their steelbooks for full seasons for like $10.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy. All right. Hey, I put up an interview this week with Aaron West and Jill Blake of Cine Journeys. They are from the Criterion Now podcast. Check it out if you get some free time. Cine Journeys is a really, really, really interesting idea. Fans of experimental cinema should check this out. You can order from Black Zero in Canada right now, Crack Brutal Grief from 2000. This says it came in response to the tragic suicide of the filmmaker's friend, an event that led him to a formative encounter with the grotesque imagery of the early internet. In response to this inhumanity, the artist poses an alchemical possibility to confront and raise debased images of death, exploitation, and suffering to the full dignity of sorrow, in the process achieving catharsis. This is by R. Bruce Elder, and he's one of Canada's most celebrated experimental filmmakers and critics. And this is going to be limited to 1,000. And on this, you've got a newly restored digital master from the original Elements, commentary by R. Bruce Elder and Stephen Broomer, who's the owner of Black Zero, and then a new interview with R. Bruce Elder, a new video essay by Broomer, and then some liner notes by Christian Roy. Do you know anything about these experimental films? Have you ever seen these?
I don't know anything about them, but I'm glad that Black Zero's out there putting this stuff out, and we need to get caught up on our discs, because this kind of stuff is stuff that we need to make sure gets out there to people, because it's such a fringe sort of thing, but it's so interesting. We need to remember that film is an art form, and the way that people think about what a movie is or what a film is, and like the rules and all that stuff, none of that actually exists. It's just a construct. You can do anything you want with it. You can do anything that's like not even, physically, making a movie. You can just scratch the film or do any of these kind of things. Like they all kind of enter into the possibilities, and you can use that to create feelings and emotions in ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So these are really fascinating. And, somebody like this putting this stuff out, because this is the kind of stuff that just doesn't get released hardly at all.
Fully agreed.
Some stuff from some of the classic experimental kind of things. The Criterion has brackage and different stuff, but there's an enormous body of work by an enormous amount of people out there that, are just kind of treading their path and are interested in exploring, what film can do in different unique ways. And it's not commercial in any way. So mostly they just, get shown at small cinemas and whatnot. But it's good for people to be able to, get a copy of this, because I'm sure before this is probably pretty hard to see.
If you're intrigued after what we've said about Black Zero, they are running a rather interesting special right now that's limited to the first 30 orders. You can pick up their first 7 releases that they did, all for the low price of $150. That sounds pretty expensive, but the amount of stuff that they've put onto, especially their first few discs, is a lot. When they were just getting established, there's tons of stuff on these discs. You can still get it right now, as far as I can tell. So go check out their site, blackzero.ca, and it's a summer bundle deal that they're doing. This is probably the cheapest they're ever going to be. So check it out.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get these for Scarecrow, but the tough part is with Canada ends up being the shipping, unfortunately. So, but
Yeah.
it's just sometimes you got to bite the bullet and just say, this is important stuff. This is an important thing as part of our collection, which is, we have to make the choices, but sometimes you spend $50 on something that's going to rent one time, but that one time might be a person that it completely changes their perspective, and that's worth it in my mind.
I think we just need to make you a friend that's just on the other side of the border, and we can ship them from there to the other side in Canada, and then you can just go hang out with them and pick them up for free.
It sounds good. I mean, we're not that far from Canada, so it seems crazy that it's so expensive.
Yeah. Yep, it's pretty bad. This one is really odd. July 2nd, we're getting a Walmart exclusive Blu-ray steelbook, of Cocaine Bear from last year, which already has a 4K release, but now you can buy an exclusive Blu-ray steelbook if you want it. Why are they doing this, Joel?
I don't know. I kind of like this art. I don't know. It's just an interesting choice.
Yeah.
I don't know who it's for specifically, though. I don't really get the whole steelbook thing. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I just don't. But I don't have like bad feelings towards anyone that does. Just for me, I feel like I hate there's like the J card on there and stuff. And anyway, this though, I don't know who it's for.
It makes no sense, especially after you already released it on 4K.
I guess, if it's Walmart, maybe they're just like, whatever, we'll put it in the stores and people will, it's yellow, it'll draw the attention of the eye. Someone will say, oh, it's Cocaine Bear. They want to keep the price point lower, so they don't want to do the 4K. I'm just trying to think of any rational reason that they would have greenlit this.
Right. I kind of like the art on this too, but definitely not a needed purchase for me. August 27th, though, Kino is releasing a 4K and Blu-ray release of The Lady Killers from 1955. You can pick that up as a standalone 4K or standalone Blue. We've got a new audio commentary by David Del Val on this. And then on the Blu-ray disc, you've got a whole bunch of archival features. They're not super long, but you've got quite a few on there. And I got to say, I've got the Studio Canal disc that they did just a couple years ago. It looks amazing, and it's going to look exactly the same here. So I would say if you've been interested in this film, that 4K is going to look great.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have that, this is probably a good one to have. That you get it at a sale for like $18 or something. It's a great film. If you haven't seen it, it's fun. It's got an amazing cast. I mean, it's just astounding. So good on them for putting out a 4K of this. It's a good one. I would actually like to see the Coen one, the remake, come out on Blu-ray at some point.
That would be nice.
It's not that great. I mean, especially compared with other Coen Brothers stuff, it deserves a Blu-ray still. I think
agree.
It needs
Is there more? They've got 2 or 3 that have not been on Blu-ray yet, right? Or is that the only one?
It might be the only one at this point.
Did the Terminal get a Blu-ray?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. Trying to think.
I'm trying to think.
Next,
I'm visualizing the shelf.
Umbrella. This is a crazy month from Umbrella. We got a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
This first title is coming on October 16th on 4K from Umbrella. And if you can see everything in the picture, there's a lot here. This is Caligula, the Ultimate Cut. And man, are they going all out for this film. They've been teasing this for a couple months. And now that we got some details, it's wild what they're doing for this. So this one, we've got a total of 5 different cuts on one 4K disc and 2 Blu-rays, over 200-page hardback bound book, including a host of essays, interviews, and artwork, another over 200-page bound book with 2 Gore Vidal screenplays and the novelization of Caligula, a partial reprint of the May 1980 Penthouse Special Caligula issue, an outer rigid slipcase, a slipcase on the inside, 8 poster cards, 2 reversible posters, and it will be numbered. And then, of course, all of the on-disc extras, including a new commentary with Heather Drain, the Rise and Fall and Resurrection visual essay by Jarrett Gahan. Thomas Nagovin and Aaron Shaps discussed the Ultimate Cut. Nagovin did a Q&A at Cannes, and he discusses that. There's a 2023 post-screening Q&A with McDowell and Nagovin in this. A fantastic film festival Q&A. There's a lot, plus hours of archival extras. Let's discuss Caligula. First of all, how do you feel about this getting like 3 or 4 different releases this year?
I kind of figured that would happen since there's the new, restoration, new cut or whatever. So I just got to say, I haven't actually ever seen Caligula. It's just one of those things that I don't know why I didn't watch it. I should have probably seen it already, but I might need to watch 5 cuts of it now. So we'll see. we'll see if that happens. But this is the one to top. There's no way you're gonna get bigger than this. I mean, just having that many cuts of the film is, in my opinion, is actually necessary because the history of this film, and it's just going to be fascinating to see, the evolution of kind of the different ways they tried to make it work and sell the film. But I don't know how much it's going to be, so it's going to be pretty pricey, I'm imagining.
If you buy the Ultimate thing with all the books and everything from Umbrella, it's $150.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. There's a lot of stuff in there. I don't know if we're maybe getting to kind of a little too boutique-y stuff at this point. Like, you can only expand the package with essentially one film to a certain point. Although this film, it might be able to sustain that. There are some crazy fans of this out there, for all its controversy and flaws, that someone might want this. That's a lot, though.
There is going to be a standard, so you should be able to get just the discs and not all the bonus everything. And they did say for fans of their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles release, it's going to be very similar size, which is massive. I mean, This is one of the books from that set, and it's huge. If we're getting 2 200-page books, that is the thickness of this. This is crazy.
Yeah. How limited is this? Did they say?
They never really say. It's usually only limited to while it's on pre-order.
I see.
And then once it's not on pre-order, they just don't list it for sale anymore.
Okay. Crazy.
The only thing I will say is we don't know all of the details for the U.S. release yet. What we got so far is that we know that it is coming with 2 cuts on 4K. The Umbrella one only has 1 cut on 4K.
Mm-hmm.
And then the US one is going to have the CD soundtrack. This one does not.
So you're going to have to have both. You're going to have to get them both to be a completist. That's if you're really a fan.
It's It's a lot, though. I just realized, thanks to Reservoir in the chat, I held up the Mario book and not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book. That's the only one I have. Thanks. Wow. And then my comment came out really misspelled. I will delete that. So yeah, this is huge. Just period. The other big thing is I posted that we got some details on the U.S. cut, but then Jesse from Diabolic commented and said that Draft House is not putting out the U.S. release and that they sold the home video rights to somebody else.
Yeah.
And they just haven't announced yet.
Yeah, I was trying to look into that a little because it's because they have some affiliated thing with like Giant Pictures or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's Giant on there, but I don't exactly know what their deal is at all. It's all very mysterious, so I guess we'll find out in the near future about everybody's how they're gonna do it, and if it's a different label or if it's like a whole another entity entirely.
It's a very important question to figure out too, especially because no, Reservoir, it was not announced that Cult Epics is releasing it. I believe they had posted like that they saw it at Cannes or something like that, and then people ran with it that they were putting it out. It has not been announced yet, but supposedly we're going to be finding out in the next month, so we should know very, very soon.
Well, I give it to Umbrella. They do put together a pretty impressive package, and for anyone that's a big fan, this I can't even imagine getting anything better. So,
I mean, realistically, how would you top this?
I can't. I don't know. It's just crazy. It's there. I used to think Severin was a bit excessive with their bundles and everything, but Umbrella just they've gone to the nth degree on that. But the cool thing about a lot of this stuff is it's actually like interesting contextual reading material. Like those booklets, they're substantial, and that's. I think if you're going to have extra stuff, at least if it adds to the enjoyment of the experience, gives more context in there, that's all the better. Instead of, sometimes toys and stuff are fun, but I like to have the substance.
Especially when they cost about the same. I mean, this is an Australian release of Caligula that I said earlier was $150. I was including the Australian shipping. It's a little less than that if you're bundling other things together. But when you compare that to the price of like a Scream Factory bundle that has 2 posters and 2 slipcovers and some pins, and it's the same price as this, what are we doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Damien says, guess my Caligula Imperial Edition is not so fancy anymore. Well, Umbrella, they could have just sat on their laurels with one film, but they have an incredible month. Let's continue on. We've got Tasis coming from 1969. This is coming on October 9th on 4K from Umbrella. And the big thing, Diabolic let slip today, too, that they're not allowed to carry this one because somebody else in the U.S. is releasing this. Uh-huh. And I am very curious about who that's going to be.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
So this was
a nice surprise. This came out of nowhere, but it's great because this has been hard to see for a long time now.
Yeah, this one got, I think, a studio Blu-ray like a decade ago, but it's been out of print since then, right?
Yeah, that Blu-ray's been really rare for a while. This is a really good film, really worth seeing. And the 4K, I figured that when I looked at it first that they were just putting out a Blu-ray, but having a 4K, that's even better.
Yeah, and again, all of the extras look great if you're going to be buying straight from the store. If you've never seen this, the synopsis they're using, Angela, a film student, is working on her thesis about audiovisual violence. While researching, she discovers a hidden tape that appears to be a real snuff film depicting the brutal murder of a young woman. Intrigued and horrified, Angela teams up with Kema, a fellow student with a penchant for horror films and the macabre, to investigate the origins of the tape. As they delve deeper, the investigation quickly turns perilous as the pair find themselves entangled in a dangerous web of secrecy and murder, putting their lives at risk as they get closer to the truth. And this will also have a 48-page book, including a Q&A with the star Eduardo Noriega, new essays by David Michael Brown and Nadine Whitney, some behind-the-scenes stuff, new custom outer art, 8 replica lobby cards, a poster, limited edition numbered case, a new audio commentary by Alexandra Heller Nicholas, new visual essay by Josh Nelson, and then some archival featurettes as well, including a short film by the director as well. Tons of stuff coming on this one.
Yeah, they really did good by it. It's nice to have it out there again. I'm glad it's going to have a U.S. release too for the people that don't want to pay for the import.
This could be a good call. Sand Hamwich in the comments says it's not too weird for Mondo Macabro. That could be a good pick, actually. I could see them doing that, especially for the Halloween sale this year.
Yeah, they did say they're going to do 3 4Ks, I think, for that. And we already know Cafe Flesh is 1. So
yep.
Possible.
And they did say, not that it's going to be in the next announcement, but I believe they pointed out to somebody's comment who, of course, Mondo Macabro, by the way, their pre-orders are up right now, the limited edition, selling well. If you're interested in Mondo Macabro, go check those out. But in the comments, Jared responded to somebody who said, as usual, more horror and giallo, come on, complaining about Mondo's output. And he said, I think the next announcement will have one of each. So you may have some of that coming.
Yeah, I mean, just to take a second, like, if you haven't ordered those Mondo Macabros, do it right now, because those are both going to be astounding releases. Even if you're not familiar with Indonesian cinema or Max Picas or any of that kind of stuff, just take a chance, because the stuff is great. And Mondo likes to take chances on stuff that doesn't seem like it's necessarily going to sell that good for them, but it's super worthwhile to get. And, they're one of those labels for me that when they announce something, I'm there, because I trust their taste and their sense of, like what they put out. It's not like they release a ton of stuff. They release a fair amount of stuff, but it's not, as robust as some labels. But
right.
They put out stuff that is super interesting, always super interesting. So go check them out.
I didn't know anything about those Max Picas titles. You say they're great. Can you share what the vibe would be of those?
If you like sleaze, they're good. They're kind of sex flowy things. But he's an interesting, because he did, what was that one that they did not that long ago?
Is it the Human Animals?
It was man, I'm just blanking on it now. More of an action one. It was a special silent series. It was from that time period, so I can't remember if it was that one. But yeah, there's some. I don't know. I just trust those dudes. They've been around forever.
Yeah.
Like they've been doing it since well before many of the labels now that have kind of overshadowed them have been doing it, and they've always been putting out interesting stuff. Even back in the day on DVD, that there was really no audience for at all.
Right.
But you're like, no, we need to put out this weird, crazy stuff, and God bless them. I'm glad they're still around doing it.
I agree. Yeah, Pete Toombs has been doing this forever. Next title. Oh, go ahead.
If you don't have the book Mondo Macabro that Pete Toombs did, it's essential. That and Immortal Tales are both, fundamental cornerstones of reading about, exploitation or like crazy genre world cinema. You have to read them. I mean, for me, they were super formative. They kind of got me clued into a whole bunch of this kind of stuff. And then, since I lived in Seattle and I eventually was working at Scarecrow, I could actually watch a lot of that stuff. And so now a lot of it's just available, forever. It was hard, especially a lot of the Euro stuff, because, Indonesian or like Filipino and that stuff, that's still hard to come by. But the Euro horror and the Euro trash stuff, it's been pretty well mined in very nice versions. So it's worth watching or worth checking out.
I agree. Brendan says, I was just typing out both books from Must-Own reference material. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Damien says, I think the Max Picas films may be too slow and not explicit enough for some, but they are stylish and sexy. Next title from Umbrella is one. I don't really like the term guilty pleasure, but for some reason I love these silly movies. October 9th, we are getting a Blu-ray box set of the 4 Hell House LLC films. And the biggest deal here is, and this is still so silly to me that they did this, the second film got a Blu-ray release before, but the first only had a DVD. And so now we're getting the first film, the third film, and the fourth film on Blu-ray for the first time ever. And we are getting quite a few new extras. We've got a 100-plus page hardback book with written content from Alexandra Heller-Nicholas and a Q&A with the director, Stephen Cognetti. We've got 2 reversible posters, 8 art cards, limited number release, and then on each of the films, we got new stuff like visual essays and commentaries, and there's some behind-the-scenes stuff that hasn't been ever released before, cast auditions for the newest one. Have you checked any of these out, Joel?
I haven't seen these. They don't really seem like that's something that's my bag, but they have a lot of fans. So I'm glad that they're actually coming out on physical media so someone can actually pick them up. Because, they just, especially because 3 and 4 haven't ever been out on anything.
This is one I could definitely see Scream Factory putting this out in the U.S., so I'm not going to say they're never going to do it, but this is pretty cool that the first release of all 4 of these is coming from Umbrella of all places, and they're giving it a nice, like, the box on this is a lenticular box, and it's going to transfer between the 3 posters of the first 3 films because it's the same house that they use there. They're fun. They're found footage. The second and third films are not good. The first is rather good, and the fourth is a surprising return to form. It's kind of cheesy. I know a lot of people don't love them, but I really enjoy watching these for some reason. Cool.
Yeah, it's good that they're getting out there.
Next one is one, again, kind of surprised we're getting this. October 9th, a Blu-ray release of The Isle from 2000. This is one that was kind of worried about coming out for a while because Kim, the director, was canceled for a while because of, some rape stuff that happened. Thankfully, Kim has died, so it's probably less problematic because Kim will not be making any money from these. But we are getting The Isle on Blu-ray from Umbrella. This is going to have new audio commentary with Pierce Conran and James Marsh. New visual essay by Nadine Whitney. We've got some making-ofs and some soundtracks featurettes on here. Have you seen The Isle, Joel?
I have not seen this. Looks interesting.
This is another South Korean joint. They've been doing quite a few of those recently. I've not seen this one either, but it looks like a lot of fun. Dude McMahon points out, it reminds me how Stakeout has never had an HD disc release of any kind, but another Stakeout's been released on Blu-ray twice by 2 different labels.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Disney was thinking. Because maybe they were thinking, oh, we're going to hold this back for us to do, and then they just didn't do it. But yeah, it is very strange when something like that happens. But then they have like What About Bob and like a whole bunch of like huge titles that have just never. They were like, we don't want to license them out, but we don't want to put them out either. Well, like
makes no sense.
Do something with them then.
Next one coming out is Triangle. This is from 2009. This is an Australian film with Melissa George, Liam Hemsworth, directed by Christopher Smith. This one has a new audio commentary with Chris Brown, who is the producer. New audio commentary by the DP. New interview with Christopher Smith. New interview with the producer, Julie Baines. A visual essay on nautical horror by Alexandra Heller-Nicholas. New behind the scenes, new storyboards, new set building, and then an old audio commentary with Christopher Smith and a making of and all that. This is another one that a good, 11 or 12 years ago, this got a studio Blu-ray, and then it's been out of print since then in the U.S. And this movie rules. I love this movie. Have you seen this one?
I haven't seen this, and I feel like I mix it up because there's a couple different movies called Triangle, and so I'm just trying to remember which one it is. But I kind of feel like I remember when this did come out, and it got a lot of good word of mouth when it came out, but it's kind of, since then, it's just kind of been forgotten about.
Yeah, this is like if you Google best mindfuck movies of the 2000s. This is going to be on most of those lists. This movie is incredible, really well done, and glad hopefully more people will get to watch it now because it's been kind of hard to see.
Seems like a really nice addition too. They really went all out on it. That's nice.
Yeah, and it looks like a bunch of new extras, more than usual. So I'm glad they got that coming for them. Then Intruder from 1989. This is coming out on Blu-ray on October 9th. And again, unless I don't remember if there's a problem with the elements or something, but unless somebody ever does a 4K release, this looks like just the best that we could hope for this. This is going to have a 48-page book with new essays by Alexandra Heller-Nicholas and Heather Drain. We've got custom arts on the slipcase and all that fun stuff, of course. A reversible poster, new audio commentary by the director Scott Spiegel, new visual essay by Kat Ellinger on this, new trailer that's brand new edited by Scott Spiegel, new short film from 1980 called The Blind Waiter. There is a redone short film from 1981 called Toro, Toro, Toro. There is a producer's cut short film from 1982. And then we've got the original work print on here. We've got outtakes. We've got extended murder sequence. And then they redid a full reprint of Gore Zone number 6 from 1989. You'll be able to get that with this. Again, like, this is so much for a film like Intruder. It's honestly overwhelming, but this movie is also amazing. And if you've never seen it, I don't think you can do better than this.
Yeah, this is way better of an edition than you would ever expect for something like this. But this movie kind of deserves it because it is great. And it's set in a grocery store, which is like a super underrated setting for a movie. I love that because then even if you're just, watching stuff happen, you can be like, oh, all this grocery store stuff. I don't know. It makes me happy. And the gore is awesome and the movie is great. It's just a great underrated slasher that I don't hear that much about. I'm excited that they actually put the work print on here too, because I've been wanting to see that for a really long time. Synapse put it out, but like a super, super limited.
Yeah.
Like, originally, when they put out their Blu-ray, you could get it direct through them with like the disc with the work print on it, and it was pretty limited. So I've never seen it, and I'm excited to watch it.
The fact that they did a full reproduction of a Gore Zone issue is honestly super exciting for this.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really some flashbacks of when I was a kid.
Intruder rules. If you've never seen it, and we didn't wax poetic enough about it, this movie is so much fun. It's wow. I don't think I realized this. I happen to have the Synapse Blue within arm's length.
Wow.
Yeah, this movie is special. It's got unique kills. It's got Sam Raimi in it. Like, there's so much just fun nostalgia built into this. I love it.
It's interesting how little seen it is. I mean, especially with there's the Sam Raimi connection. It's been available pretty readily for a long time. It's even been streaming in like different places because I feel like Full Moon has some sort of like version of it released as well. But I never hear anyone talking about it. I really don't understand.
It's a great one. It's very much a great one. Oh, wait. I misunderstood Ryan's question. He says, do they have the old Intruder commentary? I don't think so, unless I missed it because I did not see it in there. But the fact that they also have new short films that never saw release, that's really, really cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is wild. 6 releases from Umbrella, all incredible, all coming out in October. They've got 2 4K releases, and then the rest are Blu-ray. If you really want to go in on all of them, that's a lot of money. But check it out. They have this is maybe my favorite month from them yet.
Yeah, they must be doing well because I remember, Umbrella. They've been around forever, and usually the discs were fine. They wouldn't be too elaborately packaged. They wouldn't even have like site exclusive stuff, and they've really embraced that. It seems to be working for them because this month is insane.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's next. Indicator is the next thing we're talking about. Now, all of these are coming to the UK only, and they are coming on September 23rd. The first one is You and Me from 1938. This is a Fritz Lang film with Harry Carey, Roscoe Carnes, Barton McLean. This one's got an audio commentary by Tony Raines on it. Lucy Bolton is talking about Sylvia Sidney with a brand new academic discussion. We've got David Huckvale speaking on Kurt Weill. We've got an image gallery, new subtitles, and then a booklet with some new essays, of course. I've not seen this Fritz Lang. How do you feel? Have you seen this one?
This is a great movie, actually. It's really interesting for Fritz Lang because it's kind of like a light kind of comedy. There's a little bit of drama. The kind of setup is like they're working in this department store and they're both like ex-criminals and kind of stuff. But it's more of a comedy than anything else, and it's really enjoyable. You wouldn't think that Fritz Lang is particularly light, but it's really great. Sylvia Sidney is just excellent always. For me, I always remember from watching this for the first time, it's the first time I ever saw the actor Gwyn Big Boy Williams, who, if you don't know who it is, if you look him up, he is a spitting image for George W. Bush.
Interesting.
Seriously, like exactly. Which is
very interesting.
It takes you out of the movie and you're watching it and you're like, that guy looks exactly like George W. Bush. It's kind of a weird fact.
Going to our next classic from Indicator, we've got When Tomorrow Comes. This is from 1939. And we got Irene Dunn and Charles Boyer in this. 2K restoration audio commentary by Eloise Ross. Jeff Andrew is a writer, and he is speaking on When Tomorrow Comes and assesses the film and places it within the career of John Stahl, the producer. There's a visual essay comparing When Tomorrow Comes to Douglas Sirk's 57 adaptation of the same James M. Cain short story. You got new subs and then a booklet with new writing as usual. Any thoughts on this one, sir?
Haven't seen this. John Stahl is always super interesting, especially when you are comparing it to the Sirk, because they did have so much crossover. So looking forward to seeing this too.
Yep, they've got a pretty solid classic Hollywood lineup here. Next one is You'll Never Get Rich from 1941. This is with two up-and-comers named Fred Astaire and Rita Hayworth. This is going to have an audio commentary with Peter Tonguette. We've got Christina Newland on Rita Hayworth. There's a discussion of the career and the iconic performer, Rita Hayworth. There is an archival audio recording of a lecture delivered by John Mueller from 1985 talking about Fred Astaire. There is a Super 8 version, which was a cut-down home cinema presentation of this. We've got an image gallery, new subs, and then a limited edition booklet with new writing. Astaire and Hayworth, pretty much always worth a day.
Yeah, this is one I haven't seen, but it's good that it looks like they got a lot of good stuff on there, especially in the bonus feature department. So be a good addition.
Indicator is always consistent on those extras, that's for sure.
I do like that they consistently put the 8mm versions. It's just interesting because that was a thing back in the day. Like, you couldn't have a tape of the whole movie, but you could have 8mm of like a condensed 10-minute version of the movie. That's what we had to have. Well, that's before my time, but it's just amazing how far we've come for now we are so privileged to have every single thing almost at our fingertips. And back then they were just happy with having like some clips. That was the best thing to do.
Next one is The Lady is Willing from 1942 with Marlena Dietrich and Fred McMurray. This one is directed by Mitchell Leeson. We've got an HD remaster audio commentary by Peter Tonguette on this one as well. And then Richard Dreyer speaks on The Lady is Willing and discussing Marlena Dietrich's work as a comedy performer. You've got the Lux Radio Theater version of The Lady is Willing. You've got, again, new subs and then a limited booklet with new writing and some archival interviews and stuff.
I have not seen this. Seems interesting. Mitchell Leeson has a lot of good classic comedies, so it's probably going to be worth checking out.
Generally is, especially with Dietrich in there. Man, this next one caught me so off guard today. Did not expect this. August 12th, 101 Films in the UK. They are giving us Incendies, one of the earliest films from Denis Villeneuve, on 4K as part of their Black Label. This is the 2010 film from Denis. This is going to have some extras on here. We got Remembering the Ashes, Incendies Through Their Eyes. We got a commentary with Denis, an interview with Denis Villeneuve, a Q&A with the director, limited booklet with some writing by friend of the channel, Rich Johnson, and then Symphony for the Devil, Finding the Darkness of Denis Villeneuve's Incendies by James Mottram. And there's a printed Q&A as well. The only thing I'll say, 101 Films, not always a bastion of quality. I love this movie, but I'm always a little bit worried about what they're going to come out with because their encoding is usually rough. Their last 3 major titles have had messed up aspect ratios. Have you checked out much from 101 Films yet?
I haven't seen a ton of their stuff. I always forget that they exist until they put out another thing, and they put out some U.S. releases too. But it's so infrequent and erratic when that happens. I don't know what their deal is, but yeah, I don't have too much experience with because a lot of times it seems like there's superior editions available elsewhere for some of the stuff they put out.
The big question, though, Craig just asked it in the chat, how do they keep getting these titles? I mean, they've put out Christopher Nolan titles, Denis Villeneuve now. I mean, have you seen Incendies? I
haven't seen this, no.
It's a pretty good movie. It's not like some of his later stuff, obviously. He was a very young filmmaker at the time, but I rather appreciate this movie. But to have it in 4K even is wild for a small company like 101 Films.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of connections they have. I don't know. I mean, I'm always happy for stuff to come out. Hopefully they did right by it. It's a good transfer.
I hope so, too. Supposedly Villeneuve was the one that oversaw it. So
that's a good sign, at least.
Yeah, it is. Next announcement from earlier today, Arcane League of Legends Season 1 is getting a 4K release later this year from G-Kids Films. This is a big deal, too, because this was a Netflix title, and I don't even think this was on 4K streaming. So the fact that they're putting out a 4K UHD is pretty awesome. And, again, just another great Netflix title. Escaping the clutches is always exciting. Not my thing, but I hope people will enjoy it.
Yeah, I never heard of this, but I agree with that sentiment entirely.
Supposedly this is super popular and is about to get a second season, so hopefully that does well for the future. Chucky Season 3 is getting a Blu-ray release from Universal and Sci-Fi. This is coming on August 13th. They've got a couple bonus deleted scenes on there, but that is it. The UK for the last 2 seasons has done one of their fancy good guy editions is what it was called. But hopefully this one gets the same. As long as they keep releasing them, people seem to keep buying them. I hope that they are able to keep getting the same stuff. Are you a Child's Play or Chucky fan at all, Joel?
I like Child's Play all right. It's not my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of the direction the series necessarily went into. It's interesting, but it's just not something that I gravitate towards. I haven't seen the series at all, so it might be great, but I don't have really any way to comment on that.
I don't think I've watched any of the series yet either. Going to our next one, because we still got a handful left. Abigail coming to Blu-ray and DVD only on July 9th from Universal. This is, of course, the film from earlier this year that I liked quite a bit. This is going to have deleted and extended scenes, a gag reel, some featurettes. But the big thing is it's Universal, and they, over the last couple of years, have been releasing Blu-rays, and then 4.5 months later will drop to 4K, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can expect a 4K either from them or from Shout. So, if you really want the movie, then I guess get this, and then you're gonna have to just know you're gonna have to upgrade. It's gonna happen. They've been pretty consistent in that regard at this point.
Yeah. And the Universal 4Ks haven't even been great. Turbine did a couple of theirs on 4K, and they outdid Universal's 4Ks.
Yeah, if they're gonna pull this stuff with just putting out the Blu-ray and then doing the 4K, they can at least make the 4Ks worthwhile. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Love all. Ryan in the chat says, watching Abigail only on DVD. Next, Studio Canal in the UK putting out Three Men in a Boat as part of their Vintage Classics line. This is from 1956 and coming on July 22nd in the UK. This one will have some archival features. We got an interview with Jeremy Nicholas on here, interview with Matthew Sweet, some black and white stills, and that's it. This is not one I've ever seen at all.
No, not familiar with it.
Studio Canal been digging deep into the UK trenches lately.
That's great. I mean, we need somebody to do that because network's not there to do it. So
true. Man, this next one caused some some rough reactions today.
Yeah.
September 23rd, 88 Films is putting out Gaira's Guts trilogy. This is coming in the UK as part of their Japanarchy line. And the three films in this are Guts of a Beauty, Guts of a Virgin, and Rusted Body. And if you look at the covers for these, you can already tell what kind of films these are. A couple of these have had a couple Blu-ray releases before that have not been great. And we got some answers to some questions on these today that did not make people happy. First off, people want to know if these are going to be uncut. And 88 Films responded in a comment that these, I still can't believe this is the case. These are currently with the BBFC to check to see if they can put them out uncut. We already know that they're coming, and you can pre-order this, but it's not even unsure if they're going to be cut or not yet, which is wild. And then on top of that, people were wondering, are the scenes still going to be cloudy? The previous releases of these had some censoring going on. That's inherent on the master. It's going to still be there. It's not something that you're going to be able to see stuff uncensored. But not to mention, I bet you the people that were involved in these films, they never thought that they would be shown uncensored anyway. So it would be kind of weird and unethical to release them uncensored.
Yeah. 88 Films is weird like that. They do make some strange decisions. I mean, they do a good job and stuff, but I feel like, you know, they're always exactly truthful and they're playing a little fast and loose. You know, I'm glad this is out there for the people that want it. I mean, we have the DVDs at Scarecrow, and they are very popular, or have been in the past. So this has an audience, and the audience is exactly who you think it would be. So it's not
Yeah, these are some nasties. These have gotten like quite a few media book releases in Germany with like super scathing artwork, of course.
Doesn't surprise me. This seems like it would be big in Germany as well.
Next is the latest Severin announcement. Their July sale is going to have the title The Red Light Bandit from 1968. This is the worldwide Blu-ray premiere. This is going to have an interview with the producer on there, interview with the actress Helena Ignez. We got a trailer and then a couple short films on this, which is really cool. I had somebody that's a friend of the channel who had seen this recently. I asked him about it, what he thought, and he said the movie's great. It's super unique. It's like very punk, and was talking about how it's like somebody who's super poor going and stealing from the rich people and becoming rich himself. And supposedly it's great. Have you seen this one?
I have never even heard of it until they announced it, but it seems really intriguing. So I'm glad they're digging deep for some of these really interesting titles.
I also got a YouTube link today and looked at some shots from this, and it does look very unique. I will say that. I'm very curious with this one. It looks like it's probably actually a very good movie. Next title, we got some details on Sudden Death. This was announced previously. 4K of Jean-Claude Van Damme's Sudden Death coming from Kino on August 27th. Kino looking to take all of your money in August. This one get a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the OCN. New audio commentary by Mike Leader and UK cult movie director Ross Boyask. This also has on the Blu-ray, we got some vintage interview clips and some behind-the-scenes stuff. Jean-Claude Van Damme. How do you feel about him, Joel?
He's hit or miss. This is This is a must get though. This is one of his best.
It is.
This is also one of the better fun Die Hard ripoffs from the time period. So I'm glad this is finally coming out. It's been a long time coming since they originally said they were going to do it, and I'm glad they finally got everything put together. I'm really happy to revisit this. This is a super fun movie. Yeah, so Kino just doing some good stuff. A lot of 4Ks.
A lot of 4Ks. Ronnie is reminding in the chat, still waiting on a date for Kino's Bottoms release. Not only that, I was thinking the other day, I believe it was summer of 2022 that they announced Brick coming on 4K, and we've still heard nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I cut them slack. There's things that happen or whatever, but sometimes they might want to rethink certain ones that they're announcing, like when it's years away.
Right.
It just seems like it makes it more hassle for them, honestly, than anything.
Yeah.
They have to answer a lot of questions and people bothering them. And I'm sure they have a lot to do, and they don't really feel like people, answering the same question over and over again in regards to specific titles. But, they kind of bring it on themselves a little bit.
Exactly. Next announcement today was Oscilloscope putting out Canary from 2023. This one sounds pretty dang interesting. It says, witness the extraordinary life of Dr. Lonnie Thompson, an explorer who went where no scientist had gone before and transformed our idea of what is possible, daring to seek Earth's history contained in glaciers atop the tallest mountains in the world. Lonnie found himself on the front lines of climate change, his life's work evolving into a salvage mission to recover these priceless historical records before they disappear forever. This has a commentary with the director, some deleted scenes in the trailer. You can pre-order this on their site now, and it should be coming out this fall. We don't have, unfortunately, the exact date on that, but it should be soon.
Sounds like a great story, really interesting story. So looking forward to it.
BFI came out and announced 3 that are going to be pretty big for some people. August 19th, they're doing Ikaru from Akira Kurosawa again. This is on Blu-ray only in the UK. I know a lot of people are foaming at the mouth for some Kurosawa on 4K, but this is just a Blu-ray release. This is restored in 4K, presented in HD. We got an introduction by Alex Cox from 2003. New audio commentary by Adrian Martin on this one. We've got a lot of archival features on this, and then they're going to be announcing some other features in the future. But yes, this is another Kurosawa release for the UK. Then their second title is in their flip side line. September 16th, a Blu-ray of The Outcasts from 1982 is coming. This is a previously unavailable Irish folk horror written and directed by the writer of Blood on Satan's Claw. This is set in an isolated rural community in pre-famine Ireland when poverty and magic were rife. The outcast sees introverted farm girl Mara discover a magical world of the imagination through a wild, ungodly man, the mysterious wanderer Scarf Michael. When she is accused of witchcraft, she turns to her own supernatural powers for protection. This is going to have a new 2K restoration by the Irish Film Institute, new audio commentary by Diane Rogers, and then an interview with the director. The first pressing will have a booklet, and some other extras will be coming. I've never seen this, but this sounds great. Have you seen this one?
Never seen it. Yeah, and I'm totally with you. This sounds like exactly the kind of great stuff that the flip side line does. I wish they would put out more stuff because they always unearth a lot of really cool, interesting. They're very diverse in the actual films, but they're always super interesting, kind of underground, unique stuff. And this one sounds awesome because folk horror, this kind of specific folk horror, especially from the writer of Blood on Satan's Claw, how can you not want to see it?
Craig says, wait on that one.
Oh, okay.
So, hey. This film sounds amazing. I can't wait to see this one. I'll leave it at that and maybe talk to Craig later. This one is very exciting. September 16th, they're doing a Blu-ray of Michael Powell Early Works. This is from 1931 to 36. And we've got a handful of films here. We've got Rhinox from 1932, Hotel Splendid from 1932, The Night of the Party from 34, Her Last Affair from 36, and then Behind the Mask, a.k.a. The Man Behind the Mask from 1936. These are all newly remastered from the original materials and presented in HD. We got new commentaries by Mark David Jacobs, Lawrence Napper, and Dom DeLarge, Joe Bodding and Vic Pratt and Ian Christie, and Byron E. Dixon. You've got a whole bunch of archival features on here, a documentary by Henry Barnes exploring some of Powell's unrealized films. There's a lot on here, and I know that Michael Powell has some massive, massive fans. And then, obviously I was talking about, I watched Powell this week. Like, this is a filmmaker that a lot of people still love. This is pretty big.
Yeah, I don't know any of these films specifically, but Michael Powell is always worth watching. He's a very interesting filmmaker. And especially it'll be interesting to see, like, how he started out becoming, a master director. So glad they're putting these out.
In the chat, Ryan says, BFI put out The Devils, you cowards. We'll be asking for that for quite some time, I imagine. We only got a couple left, finally. First off is this year's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is getting a 4K release. This is the Steelbook coming from 20th Century Fox through Sony distribution. And, man, this is where things start to get really weird. So they had announced on Twitter a few months ago that they were looking to put out a version of the film pre-visual effects. And they followed through on that. They are actually putting this out here. It will not be on the 4K disc. It is going to be on a Blu-ray special features disc. And they are specifically calling it theatrical. They have the theatrical cut, and then the other cut is called Inside the Lens, the raw cut. So you can see how the film looks before the visual effects. But this is where it's weird because it's on this separate Blu-ray disc that is only in the 4K release of the film. So the next thing, we're going to talk about the standalone 4K and Blu-ray release. All of these are coming on August 27th, by the way. The 4K release of this comes with the 4K disc and then the Blu-ray extras disc with this fancy cut and all that. But the Blu-ray release has one Blu-ray disc, and it's just the theatrical film. That's it.
Mm-hmm. It's a little confusing. I guess it makes sense. They're trying to drive people to the 4K. It's a pretty cool bonus, honestly. Like, it seems really interesting idea. I'd be curious to see them and compare them, especially nowadays with stuff being so visual effects heavy, to see like how big of a difference that it actually make. It's a little bit of an experiment in just, like thinking about just changing one aspect of a film and like how different the experience might be. But it's kind of shitty that they don't just include it in the Blu-ray too.
I think that they could have done well with this to get a couple 4K discs and done that original raw cut on 4K, and then the Blu-ray release should have had a bonus features disc with it. It's so odd to release it bare bones.
Yeah, and like, is this a Disney decision? Is this a Sony decision? Like, it's hard to say within here how this kind of weird amalgam of things gets done. Because there's like good ideas, and it's good it's coming out,
right,
but it's like half-assed in a way too, which leans more towards Disney than Sony in my mind. But we don't know.
Yeah, I would agree there. There's kind of evidence that it could be either company. Finally, this week, we are getting on July 2nd 2 Blu-rays from Filmmasters as part of what they are calling their archive collection. The first one here is Kentucky Rifle from 1955, and then Under Western Stars from 1938. Now, this archive collection will be films that have come from new scans, either 2K or 4K scans. They have many scan films that have been restored and are the best-looking releases of these films that have ever come out. The releases will not have any special features, but they do want to make sure that these lesser-known titles are out there available for people to buy. Thankfully, all of the films will have subtitles, which is a great thing. They easily could have skimped out on those as well. Filmmasters, generally fairly cheap, and they do pretty great work. So the fact that they're just releasing more films, I think is a good thing for all of us.
Yeah, I think that's really underserved sort of area. A lot of things that have fallen into public domain have traditionally not had very nice versions, and so for them to be committed to giving the best possible version. Do we know if these are pressed or VDRs at all?
They should be pressed.
Okay.
Everything that I read is indicating that they should be pressed, and even through the ones that we talked about last year, or not last year, last week, that are even limited to 500, sound like those are going to be pressed even, which is crazy.
I know that they had put out a couple archive releases on DVD, and
Yes.
those were DVD-Rs, so that's why I was wondering.
I will find out if need be, and try to get back to everybody. But yeah, it sounds like they're moving towards more pressed items.
Great. I think they do a great job, so I'm happy to have more stuff rolling.
That is it for all of our announcements. Wow. After 2 hours and 15 minutes, we got through everything. As usual at this point, we always go over what's coming out next week in case you forgot. Next week is kind of a heavy hitter. We've got the Blue Velvet 4K from Criterion. South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut 4K, as well as Team America 4K, both of those from Paramount. The Case of the Bloody Iris getting a wide release 4K from Celluloid Dreams. Matinee 4K from Shout Select, can't wait for that one. Purple Rain 4K, that is a big deal, obviously. Mr. and Mrs. Smith from Warner Archive. The Guyver 4K is shipping from all of the retailers, basically, except for Amazon. So if you're after that title, hopefully you didn't order from Amazon if you want it early. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is coming out next week. We get a 4K steelbook you can get. Monkey Man 4K, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Teaserama from Kino Lorber finally coming out. I feel like that was announced ages ago. Act of Violence from Warner Archive, The Flash, the original series from Warner Archive, New Adventures of Batman, the complete collection, The Man I Love from Warner Archive, Macbeth from Kino Lorber, some Radiant, Sympathy for the Underdog, and then Samurai Wolf 1 and 2 is getting a standard from Film Movement. When Worlds Collide, getting that BDR from Paramount. The Underground Railroad from Criterion next week. The first Slam Dunk from G-Kids, I believe. And most of the other ones we've talked about recently. Common Law Wife and Jenny Wife Child from Film Masters. Stranger's Kiss from Fun City Editions coming out. Don't forget that one. Ozone's Transgressive Triple from Altered Innocence. That's going to be a big one for quite a few in the chat. And I think that was most of the heavy hitters. We got some Kino ones I should probably mention. Arthur Dong's Asian American Stories. White Room, Arthur Dong's LGBTQ Stories. When Night is Falling. There is just, can't show that on the internet. There is a lot coming next week. Any of those specifically jump out to you, sir?
I'm excited to watch The Guyver. I've been waiting to revisit it, in anticipation of this 4K, because I haven't seen it in many a year, but I always really liked it, so I'm excited for that. That's sitting in the office waiting for me to find a couple hours to take it home this weekend.
Amazing.
It's just a weirdly diverse and really super interesting week of stuff. So, Case of Bloody Iris, if you don't have that, you should get that. If you like Giallos, it's a must-have. Unless you just like classy Giallos, because it's not classy at all. But if you like completely trashy, stupid Giallos with Edward Finch being naked quite a bit in it, then you will love this movie.
She is quite naked in that movie.
Yeah, it's interesting because you could make an argument for, like trying to figure out which of her films she is naked the most in, because it would actually be very difficult to determine that. This one is up there, though.
I could see somebody sitting there with a stopwatch and academically trying to figure it out for us.
But yeah, it's super fun. Glad that we got a new label. They're coming strong with a big release, which by all indications is a really nice transfer. So that's always good. The more the better, I say.
I agree. And the other big one that I'll shout out, because I know it's a big title, but a lot of people just have never seen it. Matinee. If you're a film lover, you should absolutely have Matinee. That movie's a perfect movie.
Oh yeah, I got that on order. I love that movie. It's just it's just a wonderful, warm feeling movie. It's just great. And all the Mance stuff is super funny and like so spot on to the time period.
Right.
Joe Dante just has that kind of gift to like really, like you have such a affinity for the characters. He really seems like, he's I don't know. That one especially is from his own experiences, so it just seems like that really comes across. I don't know, just great. John Goodman's great. Everything about it is excellent.
Yeah, that's a big one. All right, tonight we're discussing Code Red, which is a label that is no more. Basically, the people behind it have passed away. Kino Lorber had taken over a couple of the licenses that were coming out under that title, under that label through their distribution. But it appears that is all done at this point, which means we will likely not see Code Red branding anymore, unless it's used by Dark Horse for something, which I don't know why it would be. Code Red, what did Code Red mean to you throughout the years there, Joel?
They were always a good place. You knew that they were going to put out some pretty entertaining trash, nothing too highbrow. And every once in a while, they'd put out like a complete stunner, like something that you're like, oh, I haven't seen this before, but this is a really good film, actually. I can't believe that it's never been available before. So, and I remember from back in DVD, starting up before everyone knew Bill Olsen and all his antics and all that kind of stuff when they were more of like a normal actual label. But the thing I always appreciated with Code Red is that, the fact that they're just in it for the love of putting the stuff out. And they just wanted to put it out. Like, maybe the transfers aren't the best on some of the things, but they just wanted to get the movies out there because they actually care about them. And, they're just doing it. Like, it's like these guys, I mean, eventually, it was two brothers. They split up to do their own different things. But it was like one or two people doing all of the things to make it happen out of it. And that resonates with me because, like, these are the kind of people that, are there at the time, especially during DVD. They were there when DVD was like booming, but then they were also there when DVD was not anything. They still kept plugging away at it and still kept releasing stuff. So, for all the flaws, mostly of Bill, Walt seems much more level-headed. I had the pleasure, I guess, of meeting them a few times since they are from Seattle, and I used to be a volunteer projectionist at the Grand Illusion Cinema. On Fridays, we would show late-night programming, and a lot of times we'd use their prints. And so a lot of times they would actually come in after that to view prints of stuff that they were hoping to put out on their label. So I got to have a little bit of interaction with them, and they were quite pleasant, although they were like a weird, like, old married couple. They'd bicker a lot. It was amusing. Anyway, I just have fond memories of the label, and I feel like even at the best of times, they were always sort of under the radar of most people. They did put out a lot of good stuff, stuff that should get remembered. And it'll probably, some of it has already gotten re-released. Some of it will probably continue to get re-released, but just there's a lot of interesting gems within there that would have been put out otherwise.
For everybody that's been in home video for longer than a decade, it seems like everybody has some random story of mostly Bill. That is, something like something a little controversial, but also at the end of it, it just feels endearing somehow. And it seemed like it always had that tone. It was like, oh, that rascal Bill type of story.
Yeah, I mean, by all indications, especially after his passing and hearing stuff, that Walt was talk about his mental health and like different things, like he had issues. He wasn't just a bad person. He legitimately had issues and whatever. But that's something you don't know from just reading crazy stuff on the internet from a person. But it's just fascinating to see, like, the brand is so tied in with the man, like that we just think of like, now we think of Bill Olsen as Code Red, as all of that kind of stuff. But we should also remember the fact that like this guy, he wasn't making any money, and he just kept doing it. He just kept doing it because that's what he wanted to do, and he did it up until he died. You know, like, and maybe he could have lived longer, but he didn't take very good care of himself because he just was so focused on doing this crazy stuff. I don't know. It's a tragic story in some ways, but it's also one that is endearing to me.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels like that, and the fact that we've got so much in the reserve that they loved, we can still love a lot of it. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is out of print, and a lot of this is hard to come by, and many of them are very expensive. And so, at least the 5 I picked for tonight, and I probably could have picked 3 or 4 more. These are ones that I could probably see being worthy of a re-release because they're some of the more popular titles or more popular filmmakers, at least. But we're just going to share some favorites from Code Red. I have 5. Joel may have 11 or whatever. We'll talk about that. I'm going to go first because Joel might have some duplicates, so I'm going to give him the chance to remove those in case. My first is very early in their catalog on the Blu-ray side, and this is literally Blu-ray Spine number 2, Lucio Fulci's Voices from Beyond. This is literally on the back. It's there's a quote saying it's Fulci's last good film. A lot of people would probably agree, or a lot of people would say it wasn't even one of his good films. But for a Fulci release, I definitely expect something better in the future. This is one of those, I don't think there's any extra features on here, but it is full of classic Fulci gore, classic Fulci, a couple scenes of nudity. It's pretty good. And if I remember right, I think this may have been the first Fulci I'd ever seen on Blu-ray, which is weird considering how many of the other ones have been re-released so many times. But they were getting everything else. So I would not be surprised at all if like Severn came out with the Voices from Beyond 4K out of nowhere.
I hope that gets another edition because I actually agree. I love that movie. It's really good. Like,
yeah,
especially for how late it is, it's surprisingly really good and really entertaining, and it's definitely pretty Fulci-esque. But that Blu-ray is really not good.
Not good at all.
It's like the most bare bones. I don't even think there's a menu. Like it's just not very good. And you know that was like one of their first ones, so that's fine. You know, this is way back, and it's hard for people to understand. Maybe if they've just got into collecting Blu-rays or like being into film and stuff more recently when they've been dealing with 4Ks and whatever. But like when Blu-rays first started out, they were very inconsistent, especially for someone like Code Red. But it is a worthwhile movie, and I do think it will probably get a revisited. There's no extras. I mean, there's so much potential for that. You know, we're getting the ones from Cauldron. Those are also ones that I never figured would come out. This one seems like it would definitely be right for having a better version of it if the materials are still around or whatever.
Right. One thing I mentioned earlier that I don't think any of my 5 picks have, which would make me upgrade, even if it's the exact same disc, just added this. None of these have closed captions, I don't think, on any of my discs.
I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, Bill was pretty cheap. I mean, I think that he just tried to get them done as quick and cheaply as possible. Because when he was doing Blu-rays, this was just him doing it as like house. He would just open the store, and then it would randomly be you can buy the thing. Oh, there's a new Blu-ray available. I'm going to buy it. And then he would close the store, and it was so erratic. It's hard to explain to people. It was crazy times. You never knew when something was going to drop. You never knew what was going to happen. You never knew if he would just stop selling something because someone complained about it. One random person on the internet complains. He's like, "We're done. We're not selling it." Like, you just pressed a bunch of these. How can you not sell them?
Right.
But yeah, I understand why he wanted to cut corners because he's paying for it himself.
Right.
At this day and age, it doesn't really fly, unfortunately. So, it'd be nice to have some of these, as you said, especially the Fulci. I can't imagine that not coming out again.
All right. I'm going to run through my whole list and then let you do yours in case I've got some duplicates for you.
Okay, whatever you do.
Jumping up to number 27 on the spine number, so still fairly low. Cutthroats 9. This movie is intense, rather good in the Code Red catalog. Like, this is by far probably one of my favorites that they ever put out. This one has a trailer on here, so it's got a menu. But that's it. It's got a 2015 HD telescene is what he listed it as. But, I mean, as usual, like, that's all that's on the inside.
Yeah.
The movie's great. It's like a spaghetti western that's rather gory. I mean, one of the pictures on the back give you an example of how gory it is. This one is believed to be influential on some things like The Hateful Eight, even. It's genuinely one of the better movies from the catalog. And so I could see literally almost anybody getting this. I feel like this would fit very well on a Vinegar Syndrome release, especially after they've done the card, I'm blanking on the title, but the one they just did, the actual first spaghetti western they did, kind of melding those together. Give us a gory kind of cult spaghetti western in the meantime. I feel like it'd be really great.
Yeah, this is definitely another one that's like a really good movie. It deserves kind of a better version, elements permitting. Bill was kind of notorious for being like, the elements don't exist for this thing, or though there's not a better version, and then someone puts out a better version because they have the negative, and he was like, no, there was only this print. So who knows what really is out there. But, without him putting that out, I remember forever, that was kind of a notorious title. You just couldn't see it. But it was like, oh, this is like a super gory spaghetti western, so people wanted to see it, and then they put it out, and it's like, oh, it actually lived up to it. It's actually really good. So hopefully someone can take it to the next level. Maybe include some, like bonus features to contextualize it within the spaghetti western genre or any of that kind of stuff. That's a really good one as well. Another one that's like pretty hard to come by these days.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, I don't think I said for Voices, but Cutthroats, I think, came out in like late 2015. So we're talking many of these were before most people were collecting physical media. Most people at this point didn't even know about boutiques. And Code Red, they were only printing like 3,000 copies of these, but they would last like 3 years for these 3,000 copies to sell out. And then suddenly they're gone and you can't get a copy of that anywhere. Yeah, and then they jump up on eBay to like $110.
Yeah, like the copies were there, but like you just couldn't buy them from anywhere because I don't
know. In the chat, we've got a comment from Stan Geezy who says the Code Red Blu-ray spontaneous combustion ain't great, but at least it exists, and that's why it's my next choice. This one is number 45 from Code Red. This is a Tobe Hooper film, which. How does Code Red become the defining release of a Tobe Hooper film? It shouldn't be, obviously, and I hope we can do better because this does not look good on Blu-ray. This one has a 2014 anamorphic widescreen master, supposedly, and it's barely that.
Yeah.
It does not look great on Blu-ray. This is one that absolutely deserves better. It deserves... I mean, honestly, if we could get a good 4K, it's Tobe Hooper. I mean, come on. Let's get a great 4K of this out there. Let's get some contextualizing extras. He's got such an interesting career that was affected by so many different things with people that are experts that were on scene with many of these, like Stan Geezy, that could make amazing releases. I hope anybody can release spontaneous combustion. Like, selfishly, since I work with TerraVision, I would love to do something for that release. So I'm going to say TerraVision should put out spontaneous combustion someday. That would be amazing. Ryan is asking, does it look better than the DVD? By like 5%, maybe.
So this is one of the Tobe Hooper ones that I haven't seen and I keep wanting to see, and I just never come to it. But it actually did get another release, but I think it was like the exact same transfer, and I can't remember.
Exact same disc.
I can't remember who the label was, but if I remember correctly, and this has been ages, and like you know, like I have so much useless information in my brain from like physical media history and like forums and all this stuff. But I think Spontaneous Combustion was the release that got the Code Red cartel shut down because he kept selling it after he was legally not allowed to sell it anymore once the license ran out, and they actually shut the store down, which led to many a rant. But it's kind of his fault because he just never sold the stuff, and he still had so many left. But yes, it definitely deserves a better version because I'm sure that someone needs to do a new transfer at this point. And then maybe I should hold out to watch it at that point.
The Blu-ray.com says it was re-released in 2018 by Cheesy Flicks. I don't know a damn thing about Cheesy Flicks.
I don't know if that's actually even legitimate anymore. So that sounds questionable.
Well, and I think it got an overseas release after then.
I do know that they lost their license, and then someone else had the license and was like, "Nah, we're not going to let you sell these anymore." So
Cheesy Flicks is the only one. It got some German releases in 2017, and then a Japanese release.
Yeah,
but that's it. No other U.S. release.
Those were kind of like the weird Wild West days of the Blu-ray releases, you know, where like no one cared anymore, but some of these labels were toiling and putting out these different things. So it's hard to remember that far back.
Bill got caught with quite a few of those, actually.
He did not care. Yeah.
Nope. This is another one. I'm thinking that Vinegar Syndrome is absolutely perfect for this. This is just a couple forward in the catalog. I'm going to go with Shakma, number 49. This movie, if you've never seen this is an Animal Attacks baboon. This one actually has some features. We got an audio commentary by the director, Tom Logan, moderated by David I'm going to say Dakota because it's a running joke on the channel. There's an on-camera interview with the director, Tom Logan, and it says it's a brand new 16:9 HD master. Oh, wow. This doesn't look great, but it's a super fun movie. This one is up there for me on Animal Attacks movies. It is wild, and there's only been 3,000 of these released in the world, and it's pretty damn sought after. That movie is super fun. Seek out Shakma, but obviously Vinegar Syndrome needs to release it.
It's actually a pretty intense movie because it takes place in just like the one building the entire time, and it's pretty suspenseful, and it's kind of scary. Like that baboon is actually terrifying. I can't imagine them like working with it because it seems like they kill you. But yeah, it's a really good one. That's one of those that I'd seen before, and I was like, oh, cool, a Blu-ray is going to come out because they used to play it on cable or something. I don't remember what channel, but it's a really good one, and it's just one of those that most people don't know about anymore, probably because that Blu-ray was so hard to get.
Yep. Another one that has been hard to get, even though it is a more recent one. I think this one was 2016 or 2017. Jumping all the way up to number 72. If you've ever wanted to see something that is basically Final Destination before Final Destination, Soul Survivor. This movie has a 2K scan from the original IP, supposedly, with an audio commentary with a few people on it, and then an interview and a trailer. This movie is freaking great. Another one that I would say is like top 5 or 6 in their whole catalog. Really well-made film, and this is the only Blu-ray release in the entire world for this movie. How has nobody else released this?
I completely forgot about that, but I love this movie. The atmosphere in this movie is so odd and unique, and it's like generally just completely unsettling, and it is pretty much Final Destination before Final Destination, but we're not even doing it justice. This is really well done film. A really small, interesting, well done film. One of those gems that you just stumble upon and you're like, oh my God, how have people not heard of this? Yeah, that one definitely I hope gets a release from a label that can do it justice, because I recommend that to people as much as I can. It's so good.
That is one I put on in, I want to say like 2020, and that's when I watched it for the first time, and I had to go back and check, and I went, wait, Code Red put this out? This is way too good of a movie for Code Red.
I don't even think the Blu-ray is that bad, too. Like, I mean, none of theirs are great.
It's better than it could be, yeah.
But it's like, it's watchable. I'm glad it's out there because it's legitimately a great movie.
I've got a couple others that I think would do better with someone else, but I want to see what Joel's got. What'd you pick for Code Red tonight, sir?
Oh, we haven't had any crossover yet, so
Amazing.
I'm gonna start off with this one. The People Who Own the Dark with Paul Naschy.
That's an old one.
A really, really good film that deserves a much better version because this is pretty bad. It's like from a pretty beat up print. But if you haven't heard of this movie, the concept is one of the best concepts ever for a movie. A bunch of rich people want to have a giant orgy in the basement of this castle. So like they all get together with prostitutes and all the stuff, and they go into the basement. And while they're in the basement of this castle, there's some sort of apocalypse that happens. So they're the last survivors, and there's like zombie creatures trying to get to them and stuff. It's so good. It's really good. And it's another one of these Code Red ones that has been really hard to find. Even back in the day when you could find the other ones, this one was always hard to find. And it's just such a fun movie. And I feel like the audience is in there. I mean, it's got Paul Naschy in it. I think it was directed by Kolomoski, so it's like, really heavy-hitting Spanish horror stuff. But I would definitely recommend it. It's super fun.
That is one I don't think I've ever even seen in person. That's a really hard one to find.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see it, you can rent it from Scarecrow Video. Here they do rent by mail, so
nice.
This one does not currently have a deposit on it. It probably should, but you know what? People need to see it. So I don't think any your audience would steal that. That would be very wrong.
That's a good pick. Solid choice.
All right. I have a lot. So let's go with this one. Group Marriage. Stephanie Rothman. Super underrated filmmaker. Unfortunately, she didn't make that many films. I mean, she's still alive, but she just stopped making films. This is actually one of my favorites of hers. It's just a really fun, interesting comedy. The concept is a bunch of people just decide to get married, like a group marriage. That's the whole thing. And it's just about the dynamics of how that would work and like how they deal with like, they start to get famous because people are like, oh, it's crazy. All this group marry each other. And so like the things they have to deal with, but it's also like kind of like a light comedy as well. It's just fun. It's just a joy to watch. And this is actually one that back in 2016 or 2017, Vinegar Syndrome, I don't think they announced it. Somewhere there was announced that they had this movie and Terminal Island, and they were going to be putting them out imminently. Well, this one still isn't out. Terminal Island came out like 5-6 years later, but I would love to see a new version of this, especially if they do have the negatives or something, because the Blu-ray isn't that great. But it's a great film. We need more Stephanie Rothman available. Most of that stuff is not anymore. And it's just a fun film. I hope people don't disregard it because it's a comedy and not like a genre thing. It's really worthwhile.
Code Red, I don't know what it was, but for a good year and a half, they had a solid backlog of light comedies and sex comedies that they didn't sell super well, but they were actually curated pretty properly. They were pretty good.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the stuff that I feel like is probably just that's the only way we're ever going to get it, unfortunately.
Yep.
All right.
Sad but true.
Another one. Let's take a look. All right. This is one that I first discovered actually on VHS, and when Code Red said that they had it, I was so happy. The Carrier. I don't know if you can see that. It seems a little dark. This movie is insane. And if you haven't seen it, it's I think it was filmed in Michigan. It's just a super weird regional kind of horror thing. So the concept of it is this guy gets attacked by some sort of a beast. And in doing that, he becomes a carrier for some weird disease or some affliction that whenever he touches something, it infects it. And then if someone touches that thing, they dissolve.
Well, if I remember right, it doesn't affect him at all.
It doesn't affect him. Thus, he's the carrier. But like, he touches a bunch of random stuff, and then people don't know what you can't touch, can or cannot touch. And then they start using these cats, and they throw the cats on these things to see if the cats dissolve. And they're wearing like weird like trash bag armor and stuff, and like it's sort of everything sort of devolves to like factions stuff. It's a fascinating movie. It's really, really interesting, and just like the kind of regional filmmaking that you just hope to find, because it's such an inspired idea and it's so well executed that I love this movie. And unfortunately, this Blu-ray is not great because while they did include the director's cut, which had not been available before, and the theatrical cut, or original release, I don't think I ever got a theatrical. The original version is like badly out of sync, and Bill was like, "Nah, I'm not going to fix it. It's fine."
Yeah.
So it would be nice to have another edition of this, and also just because more people need to see this movie. It's seriously amazing. This is another one that I was always recommending, like from like way back when I first discovered the tape, and I still think it's just a fascinating idea of a thing, and it's so fully realized of just a crazy concept with a world that has like its own rules. Like it's really well established and well thought out, way more so than you would expect from this kind of thing. So check it out if you can. I don't know if you can find that one anymore.
Great movie. This is one I saw years ago too. I think I have that Blu-ray. I need to look for it if I don't, because I'm up for a rewatch. That movie, if I remember, the effects are pretty enjoyable and everything. It's pretty well done.
It's super low budget. Like you can tell it's just some people doing it, but like they actually use that to their advantage. It works so completely well for like the story that they're telling and how they set it up. Yeah. I cannot recommend this movie enough. I just absolutely adore this movie.
Solid.
All right, so that's 3. Did you have any more?
You can go. No, I did all 5. You can go 20. That's fine. Recommend away.
Okay. I'm gonna go with The Redeemer.
Redeemer was one of mine almost.
That's a good one. It's like it's a slasher. It's kind of a proto slasher. It's really actually hard to find because it's a very strange. Another movie that has a very unique tone to it, if that makes any sense. It starts out with some weird nonsense, and then you go into these people going to a class reunion, but it's only like 6 people, and they're like, what are we doing here? And then, of course, they start getting murdered. So it is a slasher in some regards, but it's way more interesting than that. This Blu-ray is not good. I think it was the best elements that they could find at the time, but it's one of those that's like inconsistent throughout the thing, like it's multiple prints kind of patched together. Really cool movie. I saw this like way back in the day, like on tape called Class Reunion Massacre. So like to just like stumble upon this and watch it and be like, oh, it was that crazy movie that I saw, that like one of those movies that you would see and you're like, did I dream that? It was so weird. No, it's this movie. So check it out.
Jake in the comments says, I love The Redeemer. I have a very rare 16mm print of the film that Spectacle screened last October.
Oh, that's
amazing.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, The Redeemer's great. If I remember, the killer is a preacher or somebody from a church, I think, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, really. But it ties into that. But there's also like the weird bookending stuff.
Yeah.
That is, I don't know. I tend to not think about that, but it's like, it doesn't make that much sense, but it's really creative and interesting.
Super entertaining.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, look at that. Grindhouse Video. If you really want that one, you can get it on Blu-ray right now for $25.
Oh, yeah. So Grindhouse did actually pick up all of the remainders of the Olsen's library. So anything that's probably still available to buy, they are probably the only ones that have it at this point. Okay. I'm going to go for a left field one. This one only ever was on VHS. And we're talking about The Face with Two Left Feet. Italian comedy. The concept is, hey, this guy kind of looks like John Travolta, so let's make a movie about that. It's this guy that looks like John Travolta, and it's like Saturday Night Fever came out, so it's super popular. So everyone's like, they discover he looks like John Travolta. So like, come to the disco with us. We'll pretend that you're John Travolta, because John Travolta's in Rome or wherever this is set, shooting a movie. We'll pretend you're John Travolta. But the guy can't dance. He can't dance. So it's an Italian comedy from that time period, so it's completely stupid and completely fun. It's just such a crazy concept. I love the idea that they're like, this guy looks like John Travolta. That's our movie. We're just going to make a movie on that. And they did it. God bless them. It's sad it never made it past that. This DVD is pretty scarce. But it's just so much fun because it's just so silly.
I've not ever seen this one, of course, but this sounds wild.
Yeah, I mean, don't go in expecting anything too groundbreaking. If you've seen Italian comedies, you know where to set your expectations, especially from the 70s.
Sivner says that's probably a $1,500 down payment at Scarecrow.
Well, no, it's only $500, so that's not even a joke, because we had someone lose the copy of it, and it was very difficult to replace. It's probably easier now. I think Grindhouse might have a couple left, but this was a super rare one. This is one that doesn't even have like a UPC on it. It was only ever available direct, and I don't know how many were ever made, but it's pretty hard to see.
Yikes! That's a wild pick.
Yeah, we got to dig deep for some of these sometimes. That's a fun one. I'm trying to branch out, not just do all the genre stuff, because Code Red was actually multifaceted. They did a lot of weird stuff.
They did, yeah.
I think people need to recognize that.
And some of those odd ones are kind of hard to get, which is why I don't have a lot of them.
Yeah,
the genre ones kind of seem to be everywhere for a little while.
it's true. Yeah, there are certain ones like that were never around. Just like I'm pretty sure at Scarecrow, we have all of them, because I was like constantly vigilant towards when the big cartel store would open, so we could get the ones that we could never get to see. Because you never knew when it was going to be, what things were going to be up. You'd be like, oh, this one's back after not being available for like 6 months or something. So that was kind of fun in just an interesting way, for someone like me that's like trying to seek out all of this stuff. So I kind of missed that, but I feel like we did actually manage to grab all of them while we could, but some of them were so hard to find. And I feel like eventually some of them ended up like Screen Archives or something, which is how we ended up finding them. But yeah, it's a crazy time.
You feel free. You can go through your whole stack. We'd love to see them.
All right. I got a double feature of witch movies. So we got The Witchmaker.
Nice.
And Necromancy, both really fun. Witchmaker's like 70-ish, and Necromancy's later. But that cycle of like when there was so many witchcraft movies. Witchmaker's really cool because it's set in like the bayou, and it's like really creepy and atmospheric. Necromancy has a really cool cast. It's Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin. So good stuff. That's also a Bird Eye Gordon movie. If you like witchcraft movies, Necromancy is one of those where like someone comes to the town and the town is a secret. They're all witches. That you've seen that movie many times, but it's got Orson Welles like delivering soliloquies. So that's just what you want.
I could see both of those getting really nice upgrades from somebody.
Yeah, Necromancy especially deserves one because when it was originally released on tape, it was put out as The Witching, and as a slightly different cut. I think that they have additional scenes in that version that's not in the original version. So it'd be nice to have both of those. I like to have both of those. And Witchmaker is another one of those that's actually really a good movie. Like way better made than you expect. It's in like CinemaScope and it just looks amazing. but another under the radar kind of film that they rescued, and one that I didn't even think they would put out on Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray is surprisingly decent. There's actually like a commentary and stuff on here. It's good.
Yeah, that was one of the later Code Reds, if I remember right, and it's a little bit of a different regime compared to what he had at the beginning.
Yeah, this one had a slipcover and stuff, so it was definitely later on where they were like trying to get a little classier. But it's a great film. Yeah, that's classy for them.
Code Red trying to be classy with the slipcover. Love it.
All right, I got one more. Headhunter.
Okay.
It's pretty not well known. It's like a demon movie. There's a demon from Africa. It's in Miami, and there's people getting murdered. The cops are trying to figure out what to do. Pretty simple concept, but it's really well done. Really solid effects. It's pretty action packed. It's just like one of those kind of 80s fun demon action-y movies that for some reason people haven't seen it that much. I've always really liked it, so I would definitely recommend that one. And that's one I don't know if anyone would really put out again because it's just not very well known. Probably didn't sell that exceptionally, but it's worthwhile.
It's never been on Blu-ray anywhere else in the world, and the Code Red release was only limited to 1,000. But for some reason, you can buy it on eBay right now for $25. That's crazy.
It's too bad. I mean, because 1,000 is pretty limited, but obviously the audience isn't there for it. I just think people have, because it's actually really, like people love to just dig up any of these 80s kind of horror things, and as do I, of course. But this one is way better than so many other ones that people are seeking. But they just haven't seen it. So just seek it out. If you can buy it for $25, it's not that bad. Or you can rent it from Scarecrow.
Yeah, the first listing on eBay is even a sealed copy for $25. That is pretty crazy for how limited this title was.
Yeah, and this has been out for a long time at this point.
Yeah. Man, that's a good pick. I honestly have never even heard of that title before.
It's a good time.
And it's 1988, so like the heyday of a lot of those very practical effect heavy monster movies.
Yeah, it's like not super low budget, but like not high budget. It's kind of a mid-budget thing, which you don't get to have anymore. The mid-budget things where they have the ability to do really cool stunts and cool location stuff. And like the thing with the movie is like they keep finding decapitated bodies, so there's like a ton of crazy gore stuff because the whole purpose is to like have decapitations. It's just good. I don't know why more people haven't heard of it, honestly. It seems like the kind of thing that actually would have been on cable a lot, but I don't ever remember seeing it on cable, so I'm not sure. Not sure why.
Is there anybody big in that?
I don't think so. I don't think it has any names. I don't remember the cast specifically, so maybe that's why. Sometimes all it takes is just one name person to
yeah, usually.
Like I don't even recognize. I'm not sure who like directed it or wrote it, any of that kind of stuff. But I've always liked it. It's pretty solid.
Lot of great picks tonight, though, and just a great reminder for so many of these labels that have put out titles for years. I mean, Code Red, their first Blu-ray was like 2014, and they've put out somewhere around 200 Blu-rays in their day. And again, many of them are very hard to find at this point. But you can find lists of their titles. You can find titles that you're interested in. Grindhouse Video has a lot of them right now. You can get stuff on eBay. Many of these will likely never go beyond that Code Red release. The hope is that many of them will, and I know that a lot of people don't love re-releases, but again, for stuff that's been out of print for like 8 years that will never get another release unless somebody else re-releases it, there's no reason not to. I mean, some of these titles should not, or none of these titles should be, gatekeeped from the rest of the world, but some of these are genuinely great movies. That's the big thing.
Yeah, and especially with these more than most, there is room for improvement because a lot of times they're from prints, and if you can find the original elements and add some extras and stuff, there you go. That's enough. And not for the fact that they have been super hard to find. And so maybe people would like to see them if they can get their hands on them.
Well, I think that's the end of Code Red. We'll remind everybody to go to scarecrowvideo.org/SOS to possibly donate to what is going on with Scarecrow right now. Joel, this is even better than the first time. Thanks for coming back, and we'd love to have you back again. This has been a really fun night.
It's just fun. I feel like I'm just hanging out, talking with friends. It's a good time. I don't get the chance to do that much, so I'm glad to do it when I can.
Which is sad when you work in literally the largest public archive available in the U.S.
I am working, so I don't have the chance to talk that much. I mean, I could, but I work too hard.
Of course.
But there's a lot to do. There's always things to do.
Well, last thing, like Kate said earlier, even if you can't donate, go to whatever your preferred social media is, share the Scarecrow video stuff that they've been putting out over the last couple of days. Appreciate you guys being here tonight. Appreciate the active chat like we always have. I know it's late for many people. The 3-hour show is not an easy thing to do on a Thursday night for many. So thank you all for always hanging out. Check out all the links in the description below, and I guess we'll see you next Thursday. Have a good one. Say
one more thing, though?
Yeah.
Okay, so circling back to Scarecrow, what we started off with. What I think is, if you're thinking about this, everything seems really daunting. It's a big threshold to get to, but each and every one of you can actually make a difference in this. This is super important. You should feel empowered to do what you can to make it happen, because literally anyone can make a difference. 10 years ago, I was at a meeting at Scarecrow, and the owner said, "Hey, this is done. We're got to figure out something, but we're not going to do this anymore. We've got some ideas. None of this stuff is going to keep it available to the public. None of it's might even keep it to Seattle. So, get out of that meeting, not feeling too good. But I'm like, why don't we just do it? Why can't we do it? We know this collection. We know how. We know the people. We know all of this. Why can't we do it?" Kate's there, and she said, "Okay, what would it take to do it? Let's figure it out." So we did that. We looked into it. We created a plan. We created a budget, went to the owners, and they were like, "Yeah, okay, we'll sign on for this. We will donate the collection to this because we think that this is a viable path forward." If you care about something and you have the passion behind it, you can make a difference. Just one person or two people, they can make a difference. Without just that, just the idea of you know what? I'm not going to listen to anything telling me that I can't do a thing because I don't even know anything about it. I'm going to see what I have to do and make it happen. So even just a little donation, even just spreading the word, if you have any kind of expertise or any kind of thing, anything at all that you think might help, or even if it's a crazy idea, just get in touch with me. Let me listen to it. I'm happy to hear it. Anything that people want to do, because I'm so passionate about this, and I will do anything that I can. And I hope that, I don't want people to put themselves out too much, but I do want people to feel like that when they do something, it actually does make a difference. In this world that we live in, a lot of structures are in place to make us feel disempowered. And we need to fight that because we are empowered. And the more people that we join towards a common cause and towards something that we believe in, we can actually be stronger than we can ever imagine. So I feel like if we can all pitch in and all do our part in this, then we can just keep it going. And that's just the way it is. We have to support the things that we care about and that we hold dear in this world, because if you don't do that, they're going to go away. Especially if it's something that no one can put any monetary value on or make themselves rich off of, because that's the mark of success in today's culture. But I think that is not a good path to go down. And I feel like we need to hold the things that make a difference in our lives, that things that and places that we have a connection to, that we have ties with, that we have memories with, that have shaped us. Those are important to us as people. They make us who we are, and because of that, they have the humanity within them. So we just need to remember to care about and cherish these things, even beyond Scarecrow, just within our own lives. These are important things, and we can't let them just go away.
Well said. All that's important. I'm loving this idea in the chat. Did you see this? Adopt a video, have somebody be able to sponsor a certain release in your collection, like having a chair named after you in a museum. And perhaps you could put a little flashcard of their name and why they chose that in the release so people could see it.
We've done something like that before, so we'll have to just kind of discuss the ins and outs of it. But that sounds like a great idea. That because I want people to feel like some ownership of it. I want them to feel like they're a part of it, and especially if they have that and you can actually physically see it and keep it, that is super cool. And that's definitely a way to connect, because especially we're separated throughout the entire country, the entire world, but right now we're connecting, and that's the point of this. And we're connected on a much deeper level than a lot of people realize, and we can be there for one another, to support one another.
Could auction off the rights to sponsor certain titles. People are going to fight over Eraserhead and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Again, Scarecrow video is super important. Everybody, please go check out the links like we talked about tonight, and consider giving something. Again, it runs till the end of the year, but the big thing is Scarecrow in places like this will always need our help. And unless we are pursuing making them an important part of our lives, society will deem them unimportant and they will be gone. Period.
Yep.
Not to leave on a downer, but that's all we got tonight. You guys are.
It doesn't have to be a downer, because we have the power. We do have the power to make that happen. In our actions, we can change. We can't change everything in reality, but we can change some things, and we can take those wins and we can use those to galvanize more wins from that, in my opinion.
I agree. Fully agree. Can't wait to see what happens, and eager to discuss it more. Thanks for everything, Joel.
Thanks to be here.
We'll talk next time. See y'all. Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share with someone else that may appreciate this.